you.
Πώς πας Ηλίας?
Καλά είμαι, σε ευχαριστώ.
Δόξα τω Θεώ.
Πότε θα έρθεις στο Τσιρίγο?
Στις 10 Απριλίου.
Ωραία. Θα κάνεις Πάσχα.
Θα είμαστε για το Πάσχα, ναι.
Yeah. Nice. I see you.
Μάλιστα.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can see my PowerPoint slide. Obviously, we are the Kytherian Society of California. We were founded in 1950 by a small group of people who wanted to basically keep all the Kytherians together. And next slide here. These are my grandparents, Marigitsa Charalambos Klenzos from Christo Vorianica and Ioannis Yorgos Alfieris from Potamos. This is my mom and dad when they actually made their first trip to Kythera way back in 1967, standing in front of the old Klenzos house. My grandparents immigrated to the USA in my grandfather in 1906 and my grandmother in 1907. This is our board. Elaine Moulos is here. Elaine, if you shout out, your picture will come forward. Say hello.
Hi, guys. Great to see everybody today. I'm always thrilled that we are so global. It's amazing. So it's fun to be together, fun to be linked to everybody. Vicky's done a fabulous job on this. My memories are, being with my parents when I was a teenager at KSOCA luncheons, and there was 50 or 60 people in the room, and we were excited about that. But Vicky has taken us global, international now, and I have cousins and brothers and sisters everywhere, and it's really exciting. So good to see everybody today.
Good. Okay. And the next is Terry Klenzos. Terry and I met each other through KytheraFamily.net. We are second cousins. Our grandparents are brother and sister, but our parents didn't even know each other. Terry, you want to shout out?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. I've actually been in Greece the last couple of board meeting or Zoom meetings. So it's nice to be back and see everyone.
Okay. Melissa is not able to be here actually, or Tessie and Ted, but we do have Cynthia. Cynthia, you want to shout out?
Hey, everyone. Nice to see you all. Glad to see some new people, but really pleased to see so many of the familiar faces from the Zoom calls.
And then we have Megan Pierce, who I will tell you a story about a little later. Go ahead. Megan, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everyone from rainy San Francisco.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not raining here yet. We've got sunny skies, actually. Okay, so that is our board. And basically, we are the people that do anything because we're a very small group. But even though we're a little group, we have done all kinds of things. We basically have Panayiri once a year. We give out scholarship awards. We have made many contributions to the island. We have a Facebook page, and now we're becoming famous for our global Zooms. So we have given since 2008 $25,000 in scholarships to kids of Kytherian descent. So we are really proud of that. And these are just some of our other contributions that we've made. Most recently, we made a $1,000 donation toward the legal cost to fight against the wind turbines in Kythera. So here we are. Since we've started our global Zooms, we've had over 300 participants from over 24 states in the USA and 10 countries. I'm going to have to look at our list today to see if that has changed. So that's pretty exciting. All right. And then our star today is Amalia Samios. And I'm going to stop my share now. Amalia and we were trying to figure out when we first met. I think it was back in about 2012. I think her sister introduced her to me, Martina. I think I saw Martina come in.
Kalie's sister.
Yeah, Kalie's sister, Martina. And well, when I started, I had started working on my tree years ago. And then Terry and I, when we met through KytheraFamily.net, we started, full force around 2005. And then when Amalia came along, it just made things a whole lot easier because she had translated all of those records. So we are so indebted to her. So I'm going to turn it over to Amalia a little bit.
Okay. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Did you want to talk? You don't want to talk about anything else? You want to get straight into the family history?
Well, I will. I could go into those pictures, or I could show the two pictures.
Well, how about I start with pictures and you can pop in when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Well, good morning from Sydney. This time we thought we'd talk about photos and objects and how they can help you with your family history. Now, some people have registered. When they registered, they gave us grandparents' details and stuff. So you may learn some stuff here today, hopefully. And if you've got anything you want to share about your families when I get to you, pop in, please. Okay, I don't know where to start. Right, we'll start here. So, we all know how important photos are in family history. This photo, hang on, let me share my screen. How would I do that? Share screen. Share screen. Okay, you should be able to see a photo now.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So this is a photo of my grandfather. He is the small child here sitting in the bottom here. There's his parents and there's his siblings. So this photo doesn't really show us much. It's just a typical family in Kythera. But when you add it to this photo, so if you look at my grandfather there, he looks about 2 years old sitting in that chair. Then I look at this photo. Here's another photo of the extended family. Let me make that small.
I recognize that photo.
Yes, everybody recognises that photo. That's Papa Blaveri. No, sorry, this one's Blaveri. This is my great-great-grandparents. This is my grandfather again, sitting in that same position in the bottom of the photo. But if you have a look, he's wearing the exact same clothes. You look at his brother, he's wearing the exact same clothes. So, that shows you that these people didn't have a lot of money. They didn't go and buy new clothes every year. I mean, look, you can see how big it is and you can see how short it is, the sleeves are on this top photo. That just shows you a bit of the history of this family. Obviously, these clothes, it was probably even passed down from his older brother to him. That shows, that there's not much money in that family. So you can sort of, even just a simple thing like that, a photo can show you a lot of information. Okay, so hang on. I didn't want to put that there. Okay, let's have a look at, I might go through some of the questions people have sent me. I don't know who's on and who's not, so bear with me. I may need you to tell me who's here. So let's start with, hang on, let me go through here. I'll answer some of the questions that people have sent. Peter Triakis is not online. Okay, here's one. Is not Stacey Nataris is not on. Okay. What about, let's go to, I know this person's on, Nina Konomos. Let me have a look at your photos. Sorry, I'm very confused.
Are you here? I thought you were gone.
I came back for the meeting.
Oh, for the meeting. How sweet.
Ed,
Okay.
you need to mute yourself.
Sorry, is Nina here?
Nina was here. Let's see.
Yeah.
There she is. She's here. She's muted.
Okay,
now.
so
Okay.
Nina, you
Sorry.
sent through, you'd like to know more about your family history and where to start.
You might know Amalia. I'm first cousins with Martina Motti, and
Yes.
Martina has been
I was
doing.
going to say that. Don't need to do anything on your Motti side.
I'm not on the Motti side. My grandparents are Gavrili and Neno Haros. Gavrili
Okay.
Haros has a shell station in Yuvadi. My babu started, he did quite a lot of work around Yuvadi. You've got that photo right.
Yeah, there he is.
That's my mother on his left, the shorter woman. Yeah, she was Ellie Harroth. So as far as the Harroths family is concerned, yeah.
Oh, no, Martina's got that all over. She's all over it. Don't worry. She's all over it.
The family I do want to get started with is my father's family, and these are his parents, Yorgos Megalokonomos and Eleni Kaligeros. They are from Kalamos.
Okay, so let me talk about this Haros photo first. Now, when I was talking about the clothes they were wearing, look at the clothes these people are wearing. They're beautiful. They look very modern. They look very clean. They look very new. So you can tell with this family that they had a bit of money. They're not the poor family like my grandfather was as a child. You can just tell, look, she's holding the mother there is holding some beautiful leather gloves. So you can tell by that photo there's some money there. And I do know that because he was a factory owner in Kythera. But if you look at your other grandfather, have you seen that photo?
Oh, that's a great.
Yes.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. That's one of the Paniotis Fatseres photos that have been changed. Actually, the guy that runs the digital archives, that's his favourite photo out of all of them. It's simple. He looks like he's wearing more work clothes. Everybody else looks like they're wearing their Sunday best. You know, he looks like he's got a hat on, which most didn't. He's got the dog, which I've never seen. Only one other photo has an animal in it, and his gun. I mean, that is
Jed Clampett.
It just goes to show that to him, his hunting was important to him. He wanted to commemorate that in a photo. And these photos back then would have cost a week's wages probably. It wasn't a simple thing to do. So obviously that was very, very important to him. But you can tell just by that photo that, you know, hunting was important to him. So what else did you want to know? You wanted to know about your megaloconormal side. Let me look that up for you. 7. Oh, Lord, Yorgos, 1857.
Hi, buddy.
Okay, he is. Oops, hang on, I'm going to get the screen out of the way. Oh, no, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, he had 6 children, and his wife was Eleni Kaligiro. He was the son of Papa Manuel Megalokonomou and his wife Katerina Megalokonomou, and he had 8 siblings. There were 9 children in that family.
Wow.
What else do I know about him? Not much else. He married in 1894. He was baptized in Contoletu Church. He was a farmer. That's all I know about him.
Yeah, I have some sketchy information. I know his brother was the miller.
Which brother?
I'm sorry, my grandfather's brother. Well, see, I only knew him as Milonas.
Okay, so he's got 1, 2.
I think it was Yanni. I'm not sure.
5, 6 brothers. Yeah, Yanni was his younger brother.
Yeah, see, that's the sort of information I'm very sketchy about, and I just need to get a start on that, actually.
Okay, let me have a look. Yeah, well, see, I don't even know Yanni's a miller. Depending on the era, we have lots of information or nothing. The best information actually comes from the British era, which was 1700 to 1865. Oh, no, it wasn't 1700. It was 1841 to 1860. No, I forget. But it goes to 1865 when the British were there, and they had some wonderful records, and they still exist. We've got school results. We've got what else do we have from them? Lots of stuff. I can't even think now. I've got a mental blank. We've got lots of information from that era. So let me see what I know about Yorgos's father. Oh, he was just a farmer. He was a priest. That's all I know about him too.
The funny thing is, I knew my great-grandfather was a priest, and I know our family church is Odiitria, which is on the road between Livadi and Kalamos. But the priest...
Lovely little church.
Sorry? Yeah, it is a lovely
church.
Yeah. The priest who had recently died in Kalamos told me that my great-grandfather actually was the priest at Eospiridona, which is that beautiful little church overlooking Kapsali. And I never knew that. I had no idea. I just assumed he was at... So I don't know if the church might have some records.
We haven't looked into anything like that yet. We do plan to. We still have documents from the archives that we're getting. Every time we go to Greece, we spend about 3 days in the archives getting documents. So we can only get so many at a time. But this year, I don't know what I'm going to try for this year, but yeah, we'll come back. I'll always come back with something. The problem with...
Great job on the graves.
Sorry?
You did a great job on photographing all those graves. And the
thank you. I have to thank my husband, Michael. I know you're online. I have to thank my husband for that. He drove me to a different cemetery, at least 2. One day we even did 6 cemeteries one morning. And he was very patient while I took photos of everything. He'd go for a walk and come back and pick me up, and we'd go to the next cemetery. But we did that every single day of my holiday, and I did get it finished. So that was a big achievement, I think.
Yeah. Amalia, are you going to be running any more of those initial workshops you had on getting started on? I know I missed out on those for some reason early in the piece. I know you've gone a long way since then.
We can always do an individual Zoom meeting or something if you wanted to, and I can talk you through and show you websites.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, that'd
Send
be
me an
great.
email. My email should be on the screen now. Send me an email and we'll work that out.
Mhm. Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you so
Mm.
much.
Okay,
Mm.
I'll move on to the next person. Hang on, I've got to get this out of my view. Who's here? Let's have a look. Hang on. Start at the top, maybe. I don't know.
Vicky, I just have to apologise. I've got a 3 months memorial service I'm organising. I've got to go to church, so I'll have to leave, but I hope to catch up next time. Goodbye.
Okay, I want to hear more about that. Do you want to read that? Do you have time to read that real quick? That note?
The Delicanese. Well, it's in Greek. It's from George Delicanese. It's sent from California to Sydney when my grandmother died. And it says basically that she was a nice woman, a Christian woman, and so forth. So, but it's from George Delicanese. At some stage, I could send you a copy.
Yes,
and,
send it to me. So
about it.
it's Georgia Delacovius. She
Yeah.
was Georgia Mavromatis, and her father was Andonis Mavromatis, and her mother was Yanula Pulendianos. Okay,
Right.
so let's connect afterwards because I'd love to see that. And I'm in
Yeah.
touch with some of her descendants here in California. And I'm sure they'd love to see that.
Yeah, no, I'll certainly get back in touch. I'm sorry about this, but I've just got to go to this memorial.
Thank you for stopping in. Hey, check us later. We might still be here.
Okay. Thank you.
You never know.
Vicky,
Yes.
this is Chris. I'd like to ask a question.
Bye, Paul.
Oops. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, a little earlier, and I don't know if it was the previous date or the one before, they mentioned that someone in Kythera had a glove factory.
A glove factory.
Made gloves.
Oh, you mean at a previous Zoom
Yes, no, just a couple of
or
minutes.
today? Just today.
Yeah. And when I went to Greece, my first trip in 1954, I met my mother's first cousin, Eleftherios, and he had a glove factory in Piraeus. And I'm just wondering if, it's most unusual to go from Kythera with making gloves to Piraeus, and he had this huge factory. And I remember he gave me a beautiful pair of leather gloves. So I don't know.
Who was that? Who was that said that? Does anybody remember?
I was talking about a lady holding some gloves. I didn't say anything about a factory.
Oh, okay. Huh. I wonder.
No, Amalia, you said that the Harroses were factory owners.
Oh, they were factory owners, yes. Yes.
Not a glove factory.
Not a glove factory, no. They were factory owners.
But my mother's cousin had a factory in Piraeus, and he was a very handsome man. I remember his name was Liptheri, but it's been so long that I can't remember his last name. I know I have it someplace, but I didn't know if there was any connection.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Amalia, do you want to not share so that everybody can see each other, or do you still have
That's
more?
a great idea. Great idea.
There you go. That's better. Now we can all see.
Yes, I was having trouble looking. I can't see on my end what's on the screen, so. Okay.
Okay.
Did we want Helen Zorzopoulos? Did she want to say something? She had to leave early.
Yeah, where is Helen? Helen, are you around here?
Yeah, I'm here.
There she is. Okay, so Helen is.
Hello. I've been listening to everyone. Amalia, I'm always very excited about the work you do, and it's brilliant. And as we said last year when we met up, we will be working together, I'm sure, a lot, because a lot of the information people are getting from you will come through to us surely at the to the Migration Museum of Kythera. And that's what we're hoping. So everybody trace up your family trees and get all the information and all those beautiful old photos out. And as of the 1st of May, you'll be able to send them to us so that we can start documenting all this. And it's going to take a long time for us to collect all the data for the museum. But that's why I really want to listen to Amalia's talk tonight. And I think we all have a lot to gain. And Vicky, thank you for your note to me the other day. I just wanted to say that you see, never cease to amaze me the way you do bring people together. And it's the first time this has ever happened, basically from the day that you started the global Zoom meetings. They just get bigger and better. And we are one big family, global family, and I love it. thank you, Vicky, for that. And anyway, that's it for the moment. And we'll send you more information on the museum and how we're going. We are progressing, but very slowly, but we are progressing.
Good.
And so I don't
Helen,
want to interrupt the flow of Amalia's presentation.
Helen, there are just a few people that are brand new that haven't been to any of our presentations before. Do you want to just give a very quick what's going on and what this migration museum is?
Certainly. We've started making plans. We've actually appointed architects for a migration museum of Kythera, which will be built in a year per year. This is in conjunction with the council of Kythera. The mayor of Kythera gave us the go-ahead to, and we signed a memorandum to this effect. So we, the Friends of Museums of Kythera, have undertaken the plans and the collection of the data from all the Kytherian families who want to contribute to the museum, their family histories, the stories of the migrants that thank you, yes. This is for those who haven't seen the plans before. This is a view of the museum. This is the entrance, and Dean will probably take you through a few more slides very quickly. And so Amalia's work and our migration museum are closely entwined. And I think that, it will bring the desired results that all those photos, everyone has boxes and trunks full of old letters and photos and certificates. And if you can all dig them out and contact us, we will send out we have a special dedicated email address, which we from the 1st of May actually will be taking on officially. We'll be gathering all this information. A lot of people have sent us some information to date, but basically, officially, we'll be ready to accept much more information slowly. It's a long-term project, so and it takes time to collect all your family data anyway. So go ahead and do it, and come to Kythera and find your family's history in our museum in the next few years. And that's the gist of it. So what we'll do is we'll send out official notice to Vicky and her mailing list, and she can get out the information that we will require to everyone who is in contact with Vicky. And that's about it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Any questions?
Yes, Helen. Good evening. Are you in Kythera or on the island? On the mainland?
I'll be on the mainland tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, kalau taksidi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So in terms of the construction, when do you think that will start, of the actual building? Those photographs, for those who don't know, those slides were the architect's impression of what the building will look like.
That's right. We're in stage 2 of the architectural plans at the moment. I think in the next month or so, we should be progressing, making much more progress. I'm hopeful that by the end of the year, we will have the plans in hand, which we will give. The one thing I want to mention is that we are trying to raise funds because the Friends of Museum are fundraising to cover the cost of the architectural plans and the museology project. The building itself will be funded by the EU schemes or or the prefecture, the Greek prefecture seems as they have here for various public works. So basically, we are looking at raising money for the architectural plans and for the museology study, which is going to take a long time. The person in charge of the museology study is a researcher from the Academy of Athens. And anyway, more details will be coming out on what he actually requires from us. And we're having meetings at the moment and sorting things out. Did you ask me something else, Vic? Victor?
Yes. Well, so you think that the plans themselves have got to get in and approved, finished in and approved. That might be what, 12 to 24 months, and then
No, I hope much less. Actually, I'm hoping that things will move, and by the end of the year, we might have the plans ready. But then there's the process of getting the building license from the Polyodhomia and all the other licenses that are required to issue a plan, a permission to get permission from the Polyodhomia. And you know that is probably the biggest time factor and delay. But hopefully things will go ahead. In the meantime, we have we are pushing for it to move on, because it's a great thing for Kythera. It will be the first migration museum in Greece, and so if we don't move quickly, maybe someone will take will take the place of being first. But it's not a matter of being first; it's a matter of doing it properly, and this is what we're trying to do. What else can I say?
Well, hopefully we can meet for coffee on Kythera. I'll be there about the 10th of April if you're still down.
Yes. Oh no. Yeah. I'll be away for a couple of weeks, but I'll be back. I'll be here at least.
Lovely.
And you know, we have a nice office in Portamos that the mayor has kindly given us to run the museum project from. And so anyone who comes to Kythera can come and visit us at the museum, at the municipal council office in Portamos. We will have certain days on which we will be able to meet people and show plans and things like that. So yeah, everyone is very welcome to come past and talk to us.
In terms of sorry to interrupt. In terms of donating funds to facilitate the museology study, etc., will you supply dedicated bank account details to transfer funds?
Yes, we actually have one. We have a dedicated bank account for the museum project. It's only for the museum project. And yeah, we'll pass this around with the information that we want to promote the project. We'll put the dedicated email and the account, okay, so that anyone who wants to contribute to that is more than we'd be very grateful for anything that can come
I can highly recommend it. Those people that are interested in preserving the history of migration in this museum project, it's a very worthwhile project, and I look forward to it being completed in my lifetime, I hope, given the Greek bureaucracy. But in terms of raising funds, it's a very, very worthwhile project, and I encourage everybody to send a little bit along so that this can get off the ground. At the moment, we've got the ground, or the Friends of the Museum have been given the building, an old building that needs to be demolished and rebuilt. as you saw in those sketches, but getting it off the ground in terms of the licenses that Helen spoke about is a pretty exhausting and expensive exercise. So we'll need as much funding as possible to even get the first brick laid, as they say.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Thank you. Greetings, Helen from Dublin.
Hello, Tony. We've spoken before. Hi,
Indeed.
how are you?
I'm just curious. I missed one. Hi, Vicky. I missed one or two of the last Zooms, but I was just curious to know: does the museum include what was talked about previously, a wall of names whereby you could submit your grandfather or grandmother's name, and then the name would be placed on a wall of names? Is that still part of the design?
That was a project of the Kytherian Association.
Yes.
Of Sydney.
Separate budget.
Yeah,
it's a separate project, Tony. A separate project.
Okay.
The Migration Museum that Helen and the Friends of the Museum is involved with, in cooperation with the Mayor of Kythera, is separate to this memorial that is set for an area down near the promenade, down near the bay of Ayapelaya itself, whereas the museum is some 200 metres up the road.
Okay, so two separate projects.
Yes.
Is the other project then that you're talking about in conjunction with the Sydney organisation, is that going ahead?
Okay, so I can, Helen and I could both address this because we were both on the committee.
You address it, Vicky. You address it.
So we just had, there's a committee of, I think 5 or 6 of us, a person from Emmanuel Alfieras from Sydney, and then people from the different organizations around. And so it really kind of has had a slow start to get off, because in Sydney, they were also trying to raise funds for a wall in Sydney. And so they were trying to collect donations, and people were getting really confused about, what wall are we talking about? The one in Sydney, the one in Kythera. And so even though they sent out some advertising about this, looking for artists, it really was not very well advertised. And so they did not get any applicants of people who were interested in doing this project in terms of an artist. And so the group met a few weeks ago to decide if we want to keep going with this, or what the plan is. And the majority wanted to move forth and keep working on this. So it's still going, but slowly. We need to find an artist that's interested in doing it. The slide that I have on there shows basically where it's going to be, and it's across from it's right in Ayapelaya. They have the wall are already there. So hopefully at some point, we'll hear more about that.
Okay, thank you.
It's a great location, and it would complement the project of the Migration Museum, actually. But I'm advocating, that we advance with the museum at this stage, because I think that's quite important to sort of progress that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's my, but I think it's a great project further down the track, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, a couple of things I want to mention. I do want to take some group photos, and it's always nice to have somebody have you hold something Kytherian up when you do that. You can hold up a book, you can hold up a photo. I was going to share a photo that I have in a book that has my grandmother in it, but I guess in the next few minutes, what I'd like you to do is gather something that you can show in the photo. So that's number one. The second thing I wanted to mention is those of you that have been on the Zooms before surely remember George Soudis. George Soudis turned 100 on Thursday. And I called him to say happy birthday. He has always been one of the stars of our Zooms because he's just such a delightful person. He has such a fabulous memory.
He's from St. Louis.
He's from St. Louis. Yeah. And so I was saying, oh, George, I really hope you're going to come to the Zoom on Saturday. Oh, yeah, let me write it down. I'm going to come. He still works out. He goes to the gym. He's the treasurer of the St. Louis Kytherian Society or Association. Very active in his church. I guess the church is going to be having a big birthday party for him. So anyway, I emailed his daughter-in-law, Linda, who usually comes to the Zooms too. And I said, you know, I mentioned about coming to the Zoom, and she goes, oh, he doesn't know this, but we're throwing a big surprise party for him on Saturday, the same time as the Zoom. So he isn't able to be with us, but I thought it might be nice if we just did something special. Maybe we all just say happy birthday and I can just record that clip and send it to him. Or if you want to write on a piece of paper, happy birthday, George, and hold it up in front of you, we could do that. But I think he would get a real kick out of that. He's just a real.
Vicky, this is Gallicados in St. Louis. I have a photo of a gathering, as a HEPA gathering that we had 2 days ago, where we celebrated his 100th birthday. And it was on that day, 2 days ago, that we celebrated his birthday. Now, I've got a photo now. I have. Does that come across?
Is that, okay? Yeah, it does. Let's see. Let me see if I can.
I'll tell you what, I've got an attachment. Just tell me I could use it because it's worthwhile viewing. That's but see. Tell me how I could put an attachment on here.
Hang on oh, well, you can put it in the chat window. See where the chat window is? You can attach an attachment there. And Dean, how do I put him in speaker view? Let me see. Or do we? Okay, if we put you in speaker view, and the way that you do that is up in the top right of your Zoom window, you'll see a little thing that says view, and you can put him in. You could put it in speaker view, and then whoever is speaking will be, really big on your screen. You'll just see that one person. So why don't you do that, everybody else, for a few minutes, and then if you share that, we can see it. Do you want to go ahead and share that now?
All right. Now, on the speaker, I've got speaker check.
So now I see you. When you speak, whoever is speaking is the person who's showing up. Yeah.
Has someone emailed you this attachment, Andrew?
No, I took it.
He took it.
You've got it.
This is all my stuff. Yeah, this is all my stuff from the
computer. You could share it because I feel like everyone's allowed to share their screen. So if you've got it on your computer, you can share it if you know how to do it.
No, I've got it on my computer. I went through all kinds of options just in case one didn't work. That's why I made this photo. I made it what I just showed. But it's not attaching onto the it's not when I put it's just not.
Okay, so what I just did is I made you a co-host. So now you are able to share your screen.
All right.
So if you can find the photo and then go to the bottom and go to where it says share screen, we'll be able to see it.
Okay, so
I hope George Soros, 100 years old, he may be the first Kytherian to get a letter from King Charles III.
That's a point.
No, they had a little thing called the War of Independence, so they don't get letters from the king or the queen.
No, what happened there? I think, Andrew, if you get a copy, make sure that George gets a copy of it, and I'm sure he'll be chuffed.
Okay, so does everybody have something Kytherian to take a picture, or do you need more time to gather something? I think my book is too big. I need something smaller.
I think we got it.
Let's see. What should I grab here? I'm not organized. Imagine that. I'm just getting over COVID.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything like that, so I'll just pass on.
Doesn't matter. Just smile nicely.
That's all right. I know what I have right here. This is from one of our other Zooms. We gave this out at our first Zoom. We gave out these little cards, has the Lord's Prayer on the back. One of our members had them made. So that's what I'll use. Okay, so I'm going to take several photos. We are on two separate screens, so I need to go back and forth between the two screens to make sure we get everybody. So let's start here. Hold something up, say hello. Ready? There's one. Get ready for another one. Ready? Oh, there's your cat, Dean.
It's Kytherian cat.
Of course it
Kytherian
is.
wildcat.
Oh. Keep smiling.
Smiling.
Going to the second group now. Do this. Where are we here? Okay, here we go. All right, everybody looking? Here's another one.
Good boy.
Okay. And we'll do one more. Okay, good. We got our pictures there. Okay, so maybe let's see. How about if everybody unmutes themselves for a minute and we just all at the same time say, "Happy birthday, George." How's that go? And I'll clip that part out of the video and I'll just send him that little part. Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, George.
Try it.
Oh, no, you've done that.
Let's try it again. Ready?
Happy
birthday,
George.
May we all live to be 100.
Happy birthday, George.
Ronya pola, Yorgo.
Ronya pola, natai katos, no, tai kata.
George.
Okay, Amalia. Okay, since we were talking about photos, I would like to share a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. So when the first time I actually met Amalia in person was in 2014 at the symposium in Sydney. And then I went again to the symposium in 2019. By that time, my little tree had grown to this massive tree. And I went down to Kythera House one day with my list of questions to ask her. And I was showing her a family tree that was on Ancestry by a person I think I had determined was my fourth cousin. And this person, her name is Alice Bogansky, she had these photographs and Amalia goes, "Wait a minute, that's my great-great-great-great-grandmother. Great-great-great-great, right, Amalia?"
My grandmother's grandmother.
Your grandma, okay, so
Great.
yeah. And then she also had this photo, and this was, and she goes, "My God, I've never seen these pictures before."
No.
So she was so excited. So it's
That's
really
another point, that no matter how long you do family history for, there's something there that you don't know that you could find any day.
That's it. That's right.
And even then, when I went to do the graves in Kythera, I found the graves of my the guy, the priest that was in that photo before. I found his grave. I didn't know that existed. My mother didn't know that existed.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's always something new.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to go back to the photos, Vicky? Or have you got more photos to show?
Oh, yeah, I was going to go through a few of my photos.
Yep.
So just this is my grandparents when they came to the US. And this photo, some of you have seen before because I've shared it. This was a picnic in about 1914 in California. And this is a photo that my mom had. And this was before my mom was born. She was born like 1915. And in the front here by the lamb is my grandfather. And right behind him is my grandmother. And my mother at that time knew that the man back here, can you see my cursor, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we knew that this was my grandmother's brother, and we knew that this was my grandmother's brother, but we really didn't know any of the other people. But now we have been able to identify many of them. This one over here is Terry's grandfather, and this is Terry's grandmother. And these are three of the kids. This is Terry's father right here, right, Terry?
Yeah.
Are you still here, Terry? Yeah. And so little by little, and I was always intrigued by this man right here. His name is Dimitrios Samios. And we knew that the Samios family was very well to do, and they ended up moving to Bakersfield. But that's all I knew. And I always figured because he was in these photos with my grandparents, they must have been close somehow. So anyway, I started this Kytherian Society Facebook group one time, a while back. And there was a person that joined named Megan Pierce, who is now one of our members. And I'm thinking, who is this Megan Pierce? And it said that she was from Bakersfield. And I thought, I wonder if she knows who Dimitrios Samios is. So we started chatting one day through Facebook. And it turns out, Megan, it was your great-great-grandfather. Is that right?
My great-grandfather. My dad's
great-grandfather.
My dad's puppy.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? And so she shares this photo with me. And this is the wedding of Dimitrios Samios in 1916. And as I look at this photo, I'm going, oh my God, here's my grandmother right here. Gary's father's over here. My grandfather is here. This man sitting next to my grandmother is Angelo Klenzos, who is my yaya's my yaya's brother's son. And he was the kumbaro in the wedding. And as we start looking through the photo, we could identify so many people in this photo. So it was really a cool coincidence to find Megan.
Where is this wedding? What's the town?
This was in San Francisco.
Here.
San Francisco. It says Eastern Art Company, San Francisco. And the restaurant's in there, but it's cut off right now in this particular picture.
Love it.
So as I had said before, Terry and I found each other on KytherianFamily.net, and we decided to go hog wild. And what she's got in her hand there is this old family tree that her uncle and my uncle, Pete Klenzos, had drawn up many years ago when he went to Kythera, like 1935 or something like that. And Stamatula, who's in this photo, was married to Angelo Klenzos, who was in that last photo, who was the kumbaro. And she was a Mavromatis from Chrysoforianica. Her grandfather was the priest Dionysios Koulendianos. And we went over to her house because we knew that, she would probably know a lot. And she had this incredible archive of old photos. There's Elaine.
Guys, lay down.
At that time, I'd also printed part of the tree. My tree is unprintable at this point because there's too many thousands of people on it. But that day, I had my camera. You can see I've got my video camera there. And what we did is we set it up, and Terry was the narrator. And we had the pictures on, like Teddy Zess's, Samatula's daughter. Her husband was, a director of choral music, and he had this little music stand. And so we put the pictures up there, and Stamatula would talk about each picture and name the people in the pictures as we went through. And I have those little videos. They're old, but they're on YouTube actually. And she's going through identifying all the people in the photos. So this is one way that you can preserve your family photos. And so you know who's in them, and it can be passed on. This is Stamatula's wedding in Chrysoforianica. She told us a story about how she met Angelo. She went to church one day at Aio Vasilis Church in Chrysoforianica, and her father said, that man would like to marry you. And she goes, oh, well, he looks like a nice man. Okay, I'll marry him. So within 3 months, they got on a boat. She came to America, and that was the last of it. I think she did make a trip back, but all this time that she was in America, everybody would send her photos, those old postcard photos that you see. And so she had this incredible, massive collection of photos, and she allowed me to borrow them. And I scanned them all. I put many of them on KytheriaFamily.net. And little by little, we go through and we identify the people in them. Paul Mathers was talking about a postcard that he had received. That postcard was from this girl that is right back here behind Stamatula. That's her sister, Georgia. And Georgia married Delacovius, who was from Tony had mentioned that the Delacoviuses were from Peloponnesos area, and this one was, her husband was from there originally. But there were also Delacoviuses in Kythera. This is Stamatoula's husband back here. And I mean, we can identify many of the people in the photos now. Here's another one of her very old photos. This is her over here. And here's Dionysios the priest again. Here's the wedding of Dimitri and Eleni Koulendianos and Dimitri Klenzos. So my yaya's sister was Kyran Klenzos, and she had a daughter, Areti. Areti married Dimitri Sofaios. The two of them were very famous photographers on the island. Their child was Manoli Sofaios, who became a very famous photographer on the island as well. Unfortunately, Areti died very young. I think she was in her 20s in the 1918 flu pandemic.
Oh,
very sad. But he went on to marry Chrysanthi Logothetis. This is him at a little older age. Manoli's brother is right here, George, and his sister Zoe. And these children, this other one, Nikos, is from Chrysanthi. It's from Chrysanthi and his child. This is my great-grandmother, Efrosini Venardos Klenzos. She married Charalambos Klenzos, so they called her Charalambena. We couldn't figure that out. What do you mean, Charalambena? Her name is Efrosini. Oh, no, she was married to Charalambos, and so the women often took the men's name. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. We weren't aware of that, but the story that my mother told me was that Efrosini lived to be 107. And I thought that was pretty amazing. However, Amalia found her birth and death record, and she was 91. She looked like she could have been 107. Only 91 when she died.
Close enough.
There is somebody with a death certificate that says 136, but he was only 95 or something like that too.
Yeah, I remember
136.
Yeah. So that's Efrosini. And oops, where are we here? Among Terry's family heirlooms, she found this old photo, which is the oldest photo that we have. This is my grandmother, Maria Clenzo, her sister Kirani, and here's Efrosini again. It's kind of interesting to compare because she almost has the same kind of mouth look in both photos, Now, she did go blind, I understand, about age 80, and we never found a death certificate for her husband, but the story goes that he was lost at sea. Go ahead.
She was also a lot older than her husband.
She was like 9 years older than her husband, which is still
a scandal.
Kind of a puzzle. Yeah. And nobody was at the wedding. They only had witnesses. Now, sadly, okay, I'll tell you a little bit about this picture. I sent this picture to John Stathatos, and he wrote an article in his blog about it. And I don't know if you could see me, or because I've got this. Can you guys see this at all? No, I'm sharing my screen. You probably can't. Anyway, I'll show you later. There's a book called Kythera. It's one of those National Geographic books. And there is a full page photo of this photo in that book. I don't know how it got there. I don't know who did them, but when Terry and I were first doing our research, we had the dates wrong for the births of Efrosini's children. And we thought that the first child was born out of wedlock. We were mistaken. And so it was looking like
start a scandal.
Well, I know. So when John wrote his blog, he wrote in there about how, it made it sound like, they married after the birth of the child or something like that. And I felt really bad because that wasn't true. I started something that was not true. Anyway.
Mickey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you say her maiden name was Venaro?
Yes.
I wonder, Eleni Theodore, or any relation?
Oh yeah, we're related. We figured that out. We're fourth cousins.
Of course, everybody is related.
This Kirani over here was the mother of Areti, who I showed previously, and she married Yorgos Katsuli, and they called her Yorgana. So I would talk to people and they're going, oh yeah, that's Yorgana. I'm going, Yorgana, who's Yorgana? Well, what happened is when Aditi died and they had 4 children, he married Chrysanthi, and then he had more children. And then Dimitri, we hear, was not a very nice man. He took off to Logothetianica and took off with his mistress, and he left all the kids behind for Yorgana to take care of. So poor Kirani, Yorgana, ended up taking care of all these children, and some of them were her grandchildren and some of them weren't. This is my...
Can I ask a question about what the girls are wearing? They don't look like Kytherian dress.
Yes, that's right. And what, I forgot to mention that. Thank you, Nina. What John Stathatos told me was that in those days, they would often go to the mainland to have pictures taken. And in these photo studios, they would have costumes that the people could borrow to wear for the photos. And so that's what he is thinking happened. And it looks like more of an Athenian style costume. As a matter of fact, we have a person that she's passed on now, but she was head of our dance group here and did a lot of research on costumes. And she made a whole book for me on this costume, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
My grandparents first went to Egypt, and that's where this photo was taken. This is my grandmother on the right. We have still not learned who the woman on the left is, but this is actually a silk screen, and my aunt had it folded in quarters in a garage for many, many years. And when she gave it to me, I took it out and had it professionally framed. And that's like one of my prized possessions. I mean, of course, people walk in my house and they see this lovely thing, but to me, it's very important. Okay, and here we have this is my great-grandfather, George Alfieri, and his wife, Spiridula Arieri. If you have ever been to Ayamoni, the altar carving that's in that church was done by her father. Okay, there should be a couple of you here that recognize these people. Is Andrew still here? Galakatos? Over here, this is his grandfather. This is Andrew's grandfather. And if Chris is still here.
I'm here. I'm
Chris
here. Yeah, it's my yaya. Yeah.
Your yaya. That's right. Let's see. Oop, how come we're not going? Okay, and this is.
Could you go back to that picture real quick?
Sure.
I want to take a picture of the picture. We have some Galakatos in our family.
I can send it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki. Yeah, if you could send it, that'd be great.
Just remind me if I forget. Shoot
Yeah,
me.
I have to find out where they are.
Here's some more Galakatoses. This is actually Andrew's parents' wedding.
Wow.
And here's Chris.
Oh, there's a picture.
This is
my
Chris's
mom.
mom right here. And Chris's grandmother, Kiriakula, and Chris's aunt.
My papu.
Lovely photo.
Uh-huh. And if you remember, we at the last couple of Zooms, we had Paula Katakis and her father, Andrew. Andrew's father was Pavlos. Right. Unfortunately, Andrew passed away just after Christmas, or just before Christmas. He was in his 90s. So these were his parents, Stavrula and Pavlos. This is my mom when she made her first trip to Kythera in front of the house. I think I showed a similar one, and my dad. And Terry, are you there still?
I am.
So there's Marigula Suris Yorgopoulos. We went to her
house. Marigula, yes.
Marigula. Terry and I went to her house in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Kythera together, and she's also related to Helen Fardulis. Helen Farduli, I see, Marigula, I think it's Marigula's brother that's, I don't know, I've got to look. Okay, does everybody recognize Stratis Theodorakakis in this one?
Yes.
And his daughter Corina, and that's my dad with them. And here's Terry's grandparents and all of the kids.
That's not Vince Helen. That is my mother, my grandmother's brother, either Chris Coulindianos, who became
Chris Collins. Yeah.
Chris Collins, yes. and I think he went to Crete. Either George or Chris went to Crete. They were both in the US for a while. And my father is the one on the left, the one that says unnamed. That's my father, Bill.
Love these old photos. And
Yeah,
love
they're great.
So when I was in Australia in both 2014 and 2019, I went and visited John Minchin in Tasmania, and he's got quite a great archive of old photos. And so, you know, I just had my phone or my computer. I can't remember if I used a camera or what I used, but so I would remember quickly and not have to worry. I just recorded him telling who people were.
Right. Tell me about this picture.
That's Espina Bilos, Con Bilos' wife, and 2 children, Helen and Peter.
Gorgeous pictures.
Tony,
yeah.
Children dead.
There's not Tony as well.
I believe.
Hey, Zag's there. There's a lot of pictures.
Helen was about the same age as
Tony Zag, right?
Anyway, you kind of get the idea. Just showing you a quick thing that you can do to try to remember who's who in a photo.
Oh, some of them were better.
Let's see. Okay, I had brought this one up because someone was going to be here. It wasn't able to show up. But I mentioned Demetrios Samios earlier. These are 2 of his brothers, Leonidas and Agamemnon. And let's see. Oh, Catherine Helen was supposed to be here today too, and she wasn't able to be here. I wanted to share this one of some of her relatives. And here, this one I'm sharing because I just wanted to show you. The signature at the bottom is D.E. Samios, Dimitri Emmanuel Samios, Kythera.
My Lord's father.
Let's see, is Chris still here?
Morning.
Chris Ponticus, are you still
Hi,
here?
Vicky.
I can't hear. Is Chris Ponticus still here? Okay, these are her parents, Anastasia Georgopoulos and Luke Carmen.
Oh, yeah.
And here's another one of their wedding. And here they are. This is Chris when she was little over here on the front. Now, oh, here we go. Where's Titsa?
I'm right here. Yes, that's my mother.
Isn't that great? So these photos came from Diane Homburg, who many of you met at previous Zooms. When George,
by the way, she's at 100th birthday party today.
She told me. I know. Yeah. I was so sorry she couldn't make it. When George Poulos visited her way back in 2007, she shared all these old photos that her dad had. And I guess he'd been kind of bugging her all these years. Would you get those photos scanned, please? And finally, she got them all scanned. She sent them to George. George sent them to me, sent them to Amalia. And between the 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, Chris and Titsa and everybody, we started going through. Many of them, fortunately, were named like this, but some of them were not. And so we started identifying people in these old photos. And when you start looking at people, you start recognizing them when they get older too.
Yeah.
Can I just go back?
Their wedding.
Oh, look at this.
Vicky, Vicky, can you send me the one of my mother, the one right before this?
This one, sure.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Is it really? Oh gosh. Okay,
I love it.
If I forget, remind me because
Can I just ask about? Hello, everyone. This is Kalie. Can I just ask about the Kavakos? Is that Trifili Kavakos?
Yes.
And are you somehow related to the sculptor?
Yes, definitely, Emmanuel.
Yes. Wow.
Yes. I have a lot of his work right in my living room.
Oh,
do you
wow.
really? Oh, you've got. Can you share anything?
Sure, I have to go get some. Hold on a minute.
Well, not right now. You don't have to right now.
Not right now. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
We've got time. We've got time. So
shall I go get it?
Sure.
It's right here. I can get a couple of them.
I'm going to go through. I'll finish going through the photos. I've only got a few more, and then I'll have you do that. So, let's see. This was the wedding of her parents, and she married Peter Kapsanis. Okay, so this was an interesting photo. This was Diane had a lot of Mentis pictures, Mentis and this. So I'm looking at this photo, right? And then this one comes along and there's Alexis.
That's my Yaya and Papu.
That's your Yaya and Papu. And we're looking at her, wait a minute, that guy right there. He looks like the guy back over here. We're going back and forth and we're going, well, that's him. Look at that. And look at her, Polixeni. It's the same person. So there's Polixeni in the front here, and here's, do you know how they're related?
The only thing, I think they might have been Kupari. Is that possible?
Well, it makes sense because they're sitting next to the bride and groom.
Yeah. But I don't know some of these other people. I believe this man here, right behind my grandfather, on his left, behind his left shoulder, I believe his name was Yanni.
This one here?
No.
Oh
one? Gosh, now I don't know. I think the one you just pointed to might be John.
Alexis, are you
Yes.
related? Are you related to the Mentis? Because all the Mentises there are my great aunts and great uncles.
I don't. That name is not familiar to me, but that doesn't mean that we're not related. But that name doesn't ring a bell.
Everyone with the Mentis name in those two photos are my direct relatives.
Okay.
My grandmother was a Mentis from Eliphonesis originally, but lived in Karava. That's her there on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Very, very, very pretty lady.
Mm-hmm.
This was later in life. I'll tell you a story about this. She's pregnant with the baby that kills her.
Oh.
She dies. See how she's got a tummy?
Yes.
She died in childbirth, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And the guy on the left is 14 years the mayor of Karava. And when Georgopoulos came and put the water on in Karava, my uncle helped him. And also when they did the big project, the Dutch came, he was the mayor then. So it was very sad that my grandmother died.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
On the proceedings, guys.
Just a few more pictures I'll share. This was a wedding in 1922 in Debo. This is my papu's brother, Vretos. He married Marigote Darakaiki. Is Evelyn still here? Evelyn Cordato was here. Then the name was changed to Cordato when they went to Australia. So this is all of these guys back here. Most of the guys back here are Cordatos. And one of them right here is Panayoti Klentos Bylos. He was related to the Bylos that John mentioned was showing. Okay, and then let's see. Here's another one that Terry had. That's her grandfather on the right.
Great picture.
Isn't that a great picture?
Yeah.
And we've got this Costa Bernardos, but we have no idea who he is. Sure would like to figure it out. I don't know if he was from Kythera. You know, we just had his name written on the picture.
Was the picture taken in Hong Kong? Can you see Hong Kong?
It looks like it, yeah. Hong
Yes,
Kong.
Wow.
my grandfather was a ship's carpenter, and there's actually an entry that I found where he sailed into San Francisco in 1896 from Sydney. So he was all over the place.
Very cool.
What was your grandfather's name?
Diamandis.
Diamandis. What's their name?
Lenzos. And the Paratsukli was Yortamilis.
Oh, I wonder if we should be able to find them somehow leaving Australia. It might be a bit difficult though. Unless
Passengers in Australia aren't very helpful.
He was he was crew. He was on the crew.
Oh, he was on a crew. Oh,
yes.
Wow. That is a great photo. I wouldn't mind if you could send that to me. I find that so interesting, that photo.
That's great, isn't it? Yes.
Great.
You
And
guys
there's
are
the other one.
send me an email so I don't forget because
And there's another one from
Hey,
the
Vicky,
one
I'll
from
pass it on to you.
Yokohama. Oops, I'm sorry.
Wow.
The one from Yokohama, you should send that one to her too.
Okay, I'll have to look through.
That's the other one where they're all in Japan.
Okay, Nina Skiathos was supposed to be here. I don't think she showed up, but that's her husband when he was younger. This is Tina Petrokilos. If you've ever been to the store in Hora called Mirto, this is her store. And when we first visited, I think it was back in 2006, we walked in and she goes, "Oh, who's your family?" And we said Klenzos, and she goes, "Oh, I'm a Klenzos," you know. So it turns out she's our half-third cousin.
Love it.
Okay, this was my grandparents made one trip back to Kythera after they came here. This is them over here on the left, and here they're sitting on the dock in Diakofti. And I posted this on kytherafamily.net. And shortly after, Tony Zaglis said, "That's my father sitting next to Yanula." Yeah, that's Yanula right there. That's Yanula's Terry's grandmother. So Tony posted that was his father. And then another guy named Andonis Zantiotis, I don't know who he is. He said, "That's my grandparents, Maria Panayotou Castrisio and Panayotou Andonio Castrisio." So it's fun, you know, posting your pictures there or on Facebook. Other people will say, "Oh, you know," they'll identify who these people are. And then there's Manoli Sophias, the photographer, too. And
That's the
last
one.
one I have. Oh, that's the one you wanted to show?
Oh, no, actually it was a different one,
Okay,
but that's a good
I'll
one.
look through, and I probably have it. After I stop sharing, I'll look for it. So this is when our grandfathers came, you know, first came over to San Francisco. Actually, this was taken in Oakland, California, on Broadway. So that was just kind of a fun thing on some photos and things that you can do. Like I said, I made videos, several videos interviewing people. I've put them on YouTube now. That's kind of how where's George? Is George Poulos still over here? George, are you in here? Well, I started posting all of these things on kytherafamily.net back in 2006. Before that, 2005. And George started noticing this person posting all this stuff. And he said, "You know, you should come to the Kytheria's Most Symposium in Sydney." And I'm going, "Oh yeah, sure. Right. You know, I'm in California, I'm teaching. I can't just hop on a plane and go." And well, then we get this invitation in the mail saying, "We'd like you to come and present at the symposium." And well, Terry, I said, "Well, I'm not going by myself." So I said, "Terry, you're coming with me." So Terry came and we went to the symposium, and that was the start of a whole new life and a whole lot of new friends.
And relatives.
And relatives, that's right. Many of the people that are here, I met way back in 2006. And Elias, thank you very much. There you are, because Elias is, I forgot to introduce you earlier. Director of the Kytheriasmos Institute in Athens, and he is the one that invited us there. And since then, now I don't know, I've spoken at several, 2008, 2013, not 2013, 2014, 2019. So it's always a good excuse to travel.
2024.
24. Where is it going to be in 24?
In Kythera.
Kythera. Oh yeah, and 22, I did it via Zoom. That was fun. Can't travel? I can still do it via Zoom. So that was great. That was the first symposium via Zoom.
What are the dates for 24?
They probably don't have them yet. Usually it's in November, right?
Yes.
But what are you going to do for the 24 one in Kythera? Will you do it in the summer?
Oh, it depends.
Yeah. We got plenty of time.
Yes.
Titsa, you had a question.
Well, I grabbed some of my uncle's works.
Oh, good.
They're little pieces, and I don't know. Can you see them all right?
Put her on speaker view, and I'll shut up so that she shows up. Go ahead.
Okay, there you go. He worked predominantly in bronze, and sculpted. Most of his material was in bronze. This is just a very small piece that I grabbed. Very Art Deco in style. This is another one. Wait a minute, let me.
Beautiful.
His work was incredible. We have some larger pieces, and my sister has the most beautiful one. It's called The Breeze. He also worked in terracotta, and he used his wife's face for a lot of the heads. Never got to meet him. I corresponded with him, Emmanuel Kavakos.
Sorry, how is he related to you?
Okay. He was my grandfather's younger brother.
Oh.
And my grandfather was Theodore Cavacos. And he married my grandmother, the picture that I held up, and she was a coronel. Wait a minute, am I holding it up right? And she was Mary Coronelos Cavacos, and I'm named after her, Panayotitsa. And he, like I said, there were three brothers. There was my grandfather Theodore, my uncle Gus Constantinos Cavacos, and Emmanuel.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
And by the way, I'm looking something up right now. You probably are related because, hold on, and I'll tell you.
Everybody is related, Vicky. I've said that before.
But you didn't
The
say
entire
it.
island is related.
Okay, so hang on. Actually, Theodore Cavacos was your second cousin, 3 times removed, Martina and Kalie. But
I don't understand what that means.
You don't understand what that means? It means it's 2 generations
never
down.
have. So
but I was thinking you're probably related on the Megalokonomos side too, because her mother, Mary Coroneos's mother was Margarita Megalokonomo.
We don't have any Margaritas in our family.
Okay, maybe she was.
My middle name is Margarita from a Coronia side. Coronelos.
That's right.
Amalia can tell us. She's got all the records in front of her.
Yeah, I haven't got it on me here though.
Are you going to talk about the Kapsanis family, Vicky?
What's that?
Are you going to talk about the Kapsanis family with the article that was
Show me
printed?
that article. Which
blog?
I
Is that
think
the blog?
Amalia.
Yeah, I wrote that blog about them. Look, do you want to talk about the photos? Do you want to talk about how to look at your own photos and get out information from them? Or do you want to be specific?
Well, okay, let me go back to Titsa for a second. Titsa, hold up that article again.
Okay, this
blog
was
that I wrote.
My
Lenny
cousin.
Bernardo's still online. She helped me write that. Yes, she is.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Amalia, do you want to talk about it just for a minute?
I think Eleni, Eleni probably should. It's her
Is she
family.
here? Eleni, are you still here?
She is. She hasn't got a headphone on. Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
She is.
Yeah. Good. So yes, it was great discovering after the first article about the catastrophe that we saw on your blog, and then we realized that one of our relatives was there. So it was one of our great grand uncles, mines and teachers there. So we realized that we had actually lost a relative, and we didn't know about neither the factory nor the fact that we were related to him.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's very good. So then I wrote that. Then we discovered that family actually had a pretty tragic history. They had, was it 5 or 6 children, and only one survived to adulthood. It was very sad. Yeah, so that's that photo that's on the grave. It looks like, that photo's got all these hopes and dreams, but in reality, they had a pretty sad life. Yeah.
There's the grave. Yeah, there's the grave, and there's the photo. And
there's the grave. If you have a look on the grave, I think you scroll down, it tells you, one died at age 3 or something, one died at age 5, a couple died in their 20s, and then one survived, which is Eleni's grandfather, wasn't it?
So it was actually there. The guy holding the little child is most probably Panayotis, who is the father of Tita. So that's what we think.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. That's the problem with photos. If you don't write down who's in them, they can get lost. The memories can get lost.
So here it is Theodore Kapsanis and Kosmas Kapsanis, and the small child is Titsa's Panayotis Titsa's father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your
This
father?
article was so amazing. I relatives that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And I think we all found it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amalia.
That's what Kalie and I are trying to do. We're trying to get these stories out there. We're trying to teach people about their families.
Right.
And this is how important. sources are, because when Amalia and I first attacked going through all of those old newspapers, you know, that was, and I thank my mother for pushing me to go to Greek school, by the way, because my Greek has come into fruition with all of this, and the more you use it, the more you get more fluent. But it was just amazing, because even the language in those newspapers was, of course, language that I'm not that familiar with. So we had our, you know, we were Googling, we had old dictionaries. I was going to my mother, who's very good in Katharevusa, and she was helping us out. And to discover all these stories coming out of, you know, Kytherians in Athens and their links to Kythera. But what I love about old newspapers, and they do the same thing here in Australia, is that in older newspapers, that someone was getting married, they put it in the newspaper. Someone was going over a trip to Greece. Oh, so and so from Orange, New South Wales, are making their way back to Greece for a holiday, and this was in an Australian newspaper.
Oh, Kalie, I mean, some of the country newspapers even say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Coronels have returned from their trip to Sydney, and they were in Goulburn. I mean, they tell you everything. Mrs. Langley left hospital today. You know, they tell you everything in the country newspapers. They're fabulous.
And unfortunately, and that seems to be a trend everywhere. And unfortunately, in this day and age, you know, that doesn't happen anymore. No. But I want to also advise all the people in America that there are websites that you can also use to go and have a look at your old newspapers, and it's through your National Library of Congress. I will send the link to Vicky, and she can share it with all of you.
I think it was called chroniclingamerica.com or so,
yeah,
.gov or something.
But it's done through the National Library of Congress.
You can put it in the chat window too, so everybody can see it.
Listen, why don't we get back to talking about photos and how we can use them for our family history?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I've got some more examples here. So this one, I don't know if you're all aware of this, but when I was in Kythera this year, I started to work quite closely with John Stathatos from the Digital Archives, and we're working on some projects which you'll hear about in the future. But I have access to the Fatseas photos now, and these were photos that had been lost for a while. They were glass negatives just in boxes in a cupboard that had moisture. So out of 2,000 slides, they've saved about 400 of them. We also have a copy of Fatseas's actual catalogue. So when he'd write the number of the photo, he'd put it in the catalogue, and you can refer to who they are. So in some of these, you can actually see the numbers.
Amalia, can I just interject there? Yep. I think a big mention needs to be made to the late Angelo
Notaris and George Poulos.
Because they actually saved these photos.
Without them, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. We would have lost them. Yep, 100%. Thank you, George, if you're still online. Okay, so let's start with this photo here. So hang on, let me share my screen. Okay, so you should be seeing this huge photo here. Let me make that smaller. Oops, where'd she go? So this photo is one of the Fatseas photos. Again, this is a lovely photo, and it's just labelled Miss Flanders from Egypt. And I think by looking at this, you can tell this was a very strong female family. It's you see even the men on the side are even cut out of the photo. They look like they're irrelevant in this photo. Obviously, the Miss Flanders from Egypt is the one in the black in the front, was wearing the beautiful clothes. She's got different style of clothes to the others. And coincidentally, this girl right here is my papa's sister. And I think this one is too, but we can't confirm it. And we have no idea who anybody else is. They're probably my family, but we don't know. But just look at that photo. As I said, it shows the importance of the women in this photo, and the men are a bit irrelevant. And one of the next photos is this photo, and it's the exact same people, all on donkeys.
Oh, wow. And
we have no idea why. No idea why. But it's just interesting to show that many donkeys in one place. You don't usually see that. Now, this is a favourite photo. I love this photo, just the way she's standing with her.
Amalia, go back to the donkeys. Can I make a comment there?
Yep, that's what you're here for.
Is that taken in Kythera?
Yes.
And they're all dressed up?
Yes.
So My mum has told me they all used to get on donkeys in processions to go down to the big name days like Mertiviotis, Ayotodoro. It could be on a celebration day.
I actually know the date that photo was taken, so I can look it up and you can let me know. The other thing is they're wearing the exact same clothes as the other photo, and they're only a couple of slides apart, so they were taken the same day.
So that would mean that the other one was also taken in Kytherian.
Yes, it was. You know that. It was Fitzairs took it.
So that must mean, provide me with the date and I'll let you know if it's a celebration date. No problem.
Okay, so this photo, we know who the people are. You can see up the top here, you've got the slide number 1019. So I could look up his catalogue and find out exactly who these people are. Now, she is Olympia, I think. I forget his name. But the interesting thing with this is, looking at that photo, you'd assume they're husband and wife or brother and sister or something. They're not. It took us a while to work this out. He ends up becoming her sister-in-law. He marries her sister. So in this case, this photo isn't giving us any clues. It's giving us questions. Why is he getting a photo with his sister-in-law before either of them are married? And then the mandolin she's playing. Why is she holding that? That's very unusual.
Can we make up a story?
Well, no, I'll tell you the story. So I don't know why he got a photo with a sister-in-law, but I put this on Facebook, and my second cousin, the granddaughter of her, contacted me. She said, "Oh my God, that's my Kubara's mother." So she knows exactly who she is. She told me the story that they're brother-in-law and sister-in-law, because I didn't know who she was. Now, that mandolin, she used to work for a family, a fairly wealthy family, and they gave that to her as a present. And she obviously treasured it, and the family still have it.
Oh,
they
wow.
Still have the mandolin.
Very cool.
I just think that's
Very
a wonderful
cool.
story.
It's a great story and a great picture. Love his hair.
I know, his hair is wild.
Oh. Yeah, his hair's fantastic. A lot of Greeks had hair like that.
Yeah.
My dad did.
Now, when you look at these photos, don't just look at who's in the photo and what they're wearing and think, why was the photo taken? So back in this era, Panagiotis Fitzairs took his photos from 1920 to 1938. This would have been a prime time for people to leave the island. So a photo like this, it's potentially taken because her husband's gone to America or Australia and she sent this photo to the husband. You know, here's your family, don't forget us. Or they took the photo before he left to say, you know, this is us. This photo, I don't know who they are, but they could potentially be three brothers or three friends or cousins about to leave the island, and they want to take a photo to leave for their families. Single women photos, I love them because they're probably more than likely taken to send to your brother who's living in Australia and go find me an Australian husband.
Yeah.
Photo, yeah, and the brothers would walk around and say, "This is my sister."
Originalmatch.com.
Hey, it sounds funny, but that's what they did.
Yeah, the original online dating.
Exactly. Yep. This is Tinder back in 1920.
Yep.
And again, look at this. This is probably a boy. I mean, you can't call him anything but a boy who's had his photo taken, probably ready to leave for Australia, you know, a couple of months later. So you can often tell if it's his photo by this chair. He's got that chair in a lot of his photos. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you is this one. Okay, I've shown you that one. Okay, some people online. This is Spiridon Cavallini. Is Cynthia
That's
online?
my great-grandparents.
Yeah, they're your great-grandparents.
Love it.
This was taken by Fitzairs, but it's outdoors, and they've hung a blanket or something in the background to give them a nice background.
I'm sure that's in front of the sundial house.
And you know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. Have you seen this photo before?
I have that photo, yes.
Yeah,
it was given to me.
I think this photo was actually presented at the Benaki Museum as part of the exhibition of the Fitzairs photos.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in for a sec. You notice a lot of the photos, the people aren't smiling and they're very glum.
Yes.
It's because they had to keep still because the cameras weren't fast enough and the light. So it was very important they stayed very, very still so they kept the straight face.
Hard to keep a smile for a long time.
I put that in my blog. I don't know if everyone's read my blog, but
if you haven't read Kalie's blog, if you want to know about photos and objects, it's a fantastic blog.
I'd also like to point out that the woman is a relative then of Lita Gregory.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, we can talk offline on that one.
Okay. So is Murphy, Nataris Murphy. Who was that? Are they online? Because this is their, what did I say, their grandparents, or their brothers of their grandparents. It's their wedding photo. But you can see by this photo, the Fitzairs photos, the quality of some of them. This is how they are. Some photos, these will be the only ones that exist, so we're lucky to have them. Others, like the Cavallini photo, there's family copies out there. But, you know, who's to say that the family copy wasn't destroyed? A lot of the photos, they only ordered one. So there was one photo in existence. If that got burnt in a fire or that got destroyed, it's lost forever. This one, somebody's grandmother's in that photo too. I've written your Georgia Marudis. Is she online?
Yes, I'm on here. That's my mother in the center.
That's her?
The tallest one. Yes, her name was Maria. They were Petrochili from Hora. And those are her 4 sisters. And we believe it was taken when my mother married my father, who had been in this country from young. And he was back on an ectotomy and to visit his parents, and they met at an ectotomy and married. And my guess is that this is, well, we know this. This is before my mother is leaving to go with him to America.
Ah, so do you know who the photo is? See how she's holding a photo? Do you know who that is?
I don't know.
No, because that's what we were pointing out. I was trying to point out
enough
here
to see who that is. But that was my Thea Specia, whose son has her grandson is Photo Tsiriwo, that's still in Hora.
Oh, Renata's
husband.
From the archives.
Yes. That is her grandson.
Oh, okay.
So she stayed on the island, and the one at the extreme left beside her, Evgenia, and she also married a Samios, and they had the little general store in Hora right across from the Mercato.
Oops.
And she married her husband's name, Paritsukli, was Kotsifos, or Yanis or Kotsifos.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, can you just tell me the order of the kids? So Evgenia was left, Aspasia was second.
No, Aspasia is the oldest. They're all just like a year apart.
So which one's Aspasia?
So the second from the right is Aspasia.
Okay.
My mother was number 2. She's in the middle.
And what was her name?
Maria.
Okay.
The one on the
very left was Evgenia.
The one on the extreme right is Fotini. She was the middle child. And then the one on the left and the one that's a little plump are twins.
Those two?
And on the left is Evgenia, and the fourth from the left is Eleni.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just checked I've listed them with the right person. Thank you. But the purpose of this photo, I wanted to show that they're holding a photo of somebody here. So
I can't see it enough to be able to.
But you can't make it out. It's too blurry. But just looking at this photo of somebody who didn't know those people, my interpretation would be that they were taking this photo to send to their father or a husband overseas, and they're just holding this photo to say, look, you know, we love you, we're thinking of you.
Well, maybe none of them were overseas. This was my mother. I'm pretty sure she had probably just married, and they were getting ready to leave. This would be in 1936.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Something worth noting. When we were over there talking to John Stathatos, and Amalia showed the number on the glass slide, that the catalogue was about who commissioned the photo, not who's in the photo.
Yes.
So what we learnt was the person that was actually paying for the photo was the person that was in the catalogue. So then you had to try and work out what was the association between the people in the photo and then the person that got the photo.
And also the other problem, sorry, Michael, the other problem is, see, this one doesn't have the number on it. And that's just a random photo. And if that was commissioned by their father, it just says, you know.
Well, their father was dead at this point.
Yes, but I'm just saying as an example, how are we to know as a layperson who these people are? So these people are getting lost to history. We need family knowledge to identify those people.
Well, we know who these are.
Yeah, we know who these ones are, yes. Yeah. Actually, Lenny Hartle had identified them for me.
Yeah, we do have the photo. We have the actual photo.
Michael, did you have anything to add?
The only other thing I was going to say, when you look at the photos and you'll see there the black bits and bits that are blocked out. The slides were actually all stacked one on top of each other. So whether that was moisture that actually got in there, and when we talk about slides, these are actually glass. They're not a negative like we know a negative today.
Michael, to point that out to you, you can sort of see this line across here. It looks like the previous slide was on top of that, right in that spot, and then the damage is around the outside where the slide wasn't covered by another one.
Yeah, and just to let you know what George Poulos and Angelo Notaris had done, they provided for John to get a lot of these catalogued and put together, and now we're making sure they're getting preserved and taking it to the next level. So John has done a fantastic job collating everything and putting everything together, and we're now working on the phase of getting them into proper storage so they'll be preserved forever, and then hopefully we can get some reproductions out of them.
Yep. Okay, now here's another one. This is Maria Siniscalchi online? No.
I don't think she came.
No, I think these are her grandparents. But look how simple that is. Now, I wanted to show you this photo. Wedding photos weren't taken on the day of the wedding. These people would have got married 2 or 3 or 4 or a month earlier, 2 or 3 days or a month earlier, got dressed again, went to the photographer's studio and got an official wedding photo taken.
Interesting.
So you see, because I'm looking at the catalogues, this one I know the number, I know exactly who the couple are. You see the wedding is 3 days before, but they commissioned this photo like 3 days later.
Amalia, do we know who they were?
I do. Let me have a look.
He looks a lot older than her.
He does, doesn't he? Hang on, I can look it up. Sorry, just a bit confusing, this list that I have here.
Malia, he might have been more financial.
Oh, Martina, do you know who that is?
Tell me.
Hang on. Let me just get him on the thing. I just double check that before I say anything. Can't find him now, of course. There he is. That's Anazina Black's grandfather.
Oh, wow. Would you say that's Anazina Black's father? Is that what
grandfather?
You said?
Grandfather. Dimitri Stratigos and Efrosini Tambakis.
From her mother's side. Oh,
yeah, he was born in 1885. She was born in 1900. So there you go. There is a big difference. 15 years. Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? He's very grey. She's not.
It looks so joyful for newlyweds.
Okay, so another thing, you can find photos in amazing places. So this is from the National Archives of Australia, and these are the naturalisation papers that people would have filled out. So this is their renunciation and all their details, and you just scroll through them and, when did I come to Australia? Where was I born? A brief description. He was 40 years old, 5'4", black hair, brown eyes. Since he arrived in Australia on the 22nd of March, 1926 on the Oronze. What's wrong, Kalie? And since he arrived in Australia, he spent 3 years in Brisbane, 2 years in Sydney, 2 years in Wollongong, 3 years in Fangeel. I don't know what that is. So, you're scrolling through. He was married. There's his signature. They had to put an announcement in the paper that they wanted to be naturalised. This is just, can you speak English, blah, blah. And then there's his travel documents. Hang on, I don't know. Hang on, let me open that properly. So when they came to Australia, when they're going for naturalisation, they obviously had to hand over their old nationality. And these are the papers that he would have that he came to Australia on. And there's a photo of him there. Now, a lot of these photos were also in the Fitzairs catalogue, because you can see he not only did he have photos on glass slides, he also did some on paper negative, or the normal negatives, and which my grandfather had one done, but they were destroyed obviously over time. So these might have been taken by Panagiotis Fitzairs as well, but some of these actually have the actual documents of the people, which is so always look at everything. Order if there's information online and it's not available. Sometimes it's well worth ordering it and paying $30 and getting copies of it, because you don't know what you're going to find on there. So here's another one. This is Nina Konomos. I've written her name here, so I don't know. Oh, again, here's his full-on passport, and that's in his naturalisation papers. So there's his photo there as a young man. Now, I've written here Leo Fitzairs. Did he come online? I don't think he did. So these are, in Australia, they had to register as aliens. We weren't very racist at all in Australia back then. But every alien had to have a registration paper. They had to say every time they moved location, they had to go to the local police and report where they had moved, and they put them in their naturalisation book. This is, who is this? Oh, Jay Fitzsimmons, Julius, I think, Fitzsimmons. Let me have a look. I think it was Julius Fitzsimmons. This is where he was a cook. He's dark brown hair. He's got 2 small warts on his right face near his nose. And then every time he moved, the local police would write them here until they were naturalised. And you can tell this has got the stamp that he was naturalised. But the good thing about these is they normally have a photo. They tell you exactly where they're living from day to day. Each and every day they move, they would tell you. And here he is here, and his fingerprints. I know they're not that exciting, but it's pretty cool to say, hey, look, I know my great-grandfather's fingerprints. So it's just a little bit of something trivial but exciting. But I just think, you know, they had to give all details, you know, their husband, their wife, their children, all details. And the government at any point knew where a non-naturalised person was living, which, you know, nowadays you wouldn't think of it, but back then it was just what it was done. What else I'll put here aside to show people? I think that's about it. I've done those ones. So look, that were the examples of photos I wanted to show. Some people that registered put their grandparents' names on. Does anybody want to know any details about their families? Does anybody want to ask me any questions about their families?
Laura, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have any. I've got a couple of photographs on my phone of my grandma. I have nothing else.
Sorry, who am I talking to?
It's to me.
What was your name?
Amalia, you some years ago now, you did me a family tree, and long story, I don't know quite what happened to it, but I've lost it. So I at some point I need to.
Send me an email, I'll sort that out.
I will, yeah. And you came to a bit of a dead end with my Kytherian great-grandfather, whose surname was Logothetis.
Well, I've done, if it's been a few years ago, I've done a lot more research. I've actually got more sources. The family trees I do now are a lot more thorough than those I was doing a few years ago. So what was your grandparents' name? See what I got now for you.
Well, my grandmother's name was Marietta Logothetis, and it was her father. Well, her parents were from Kythera, but as I understand it, they lived in Birea. And
what was her name again?
Marietta Logothetis.
Let's have a look if I got her.
Amalia.
Yeah.
There's no way that Logothetis can come to a dead end because of the work done by our friend in Athens. He's got the whole Logothetis tree everywhere, right back to.
He didn't have my great grandfather on there.
Yeah, George. If a birth document doesn't exist, you can get lost very easily. Why is my computer only showing me?
Okay, so I have Marietta, and her father was Mina, born in 1842. And his father was Panayoti Apostoli, born in 1811.
Hang on. So hang on, Vicky, Mina born when?
Mina was born October 10th, 1842.
Okay.
Let me jot this down because I won't remember if.
Laura, I'll send it to you.
Would you please? Thank you.
I'll send it to you.
I do know a lot about his family now. I can do that family back 1, 2,
okay.
3, 4,
let me
5, 6 generations.
Okay, I'd be very interested to know who Mina's wife was, because they were divorced. They became divorced. He was a wealthy man, as I understood it, and had factories in Birea. And I understand that she was half Italian, that her mother was Italian from Naples and had married a Greek sea captain who I imagine came from Kythera. I don't know why I imagine that man came from Kythera.
Well, I've got here the mother being Marietta Patriciou, and her parents were Theodoros Patrikios and Gratzoza Kombi. So they're very Kytherian names.
I think she's talking about their son's wife.
Oh, their son.
Mina, which I have Katerina, but that don't.
Yes. That was my mother told me that her name was, she thought her name was Katerina, but I don't know, my mum's memory wasn't always reliable.
No, I don't have any, I don't have a marriage for Minas, so I can't go any further.
It could be that is absolutely correct. However, if they are not registered in Kythera, then we wouldn't have the record. If that all happened up in Piraeus, then we wouldn't know.
No, we specialise in Kytherian only documents.
Where would I go in Piraeus? I'm going to Greece next week because I've got to sort my affairs out there, really.
That is a very good question.
So some sort of...
If
they were some sort of birth, deaths and marriages over there.
Yeah, sorry? Is there anyone online that's from Greece at the moment? Elias, maybe. Yes. Maybe Elia. Elia, would you know? Elias? Marcelos, are you there?
He's missing from the blog.
No, he's missing. There was a lot of people that left Kythera in the early to mid 1800s, and they went to Piraeus when Piraeus was prospering with industry, and they got work up there. And a lot of children were actually born in Piraeus and then came back.
Yeah, we don't have their records.
And we don't have their records. And we've got Robert Samios online, and we've been trying to chase his family. And we do know that there were some links in Piraeus and they were from Seville. But it's very, very hard to find what happened in between. And you don't know whether they were travelling to Piraeus or whether they were coming backwards and forwards. So it's sort of like a little bit of a missing link, and it's hard to put that together.
Yeah, and as soon as we it's a break in the family tree. And it's
Eleni Zordopoulos,
Yes.
Hello, Helen.
Hi.
You're a Piraeotissa, I know that. Would you...
Can I
say something?
Can I ask, being in Piraeus, would you happen to know if anyone is interested in finding their records, where they would go in Piraeus to find that?
Is it about marriages?
Birth, deaths and marriages. Yeah.
Birth, deaths and marriages. You'd go to the Lixiarchio for that, but I don't know exactly where that is.
Okay, but is there one for Piraeus, one for Athena, or is it one?
As far as I'm aware, I think there is one in Piraeus and one in Athens. But I would start from Piraeus first. Yeah. I would start from Piraeus first, though.
Sorry, someone else is trying to say something?
Yes, I am. I'm not the Elias everybody wants, but I am Elias. And I know something. I got my father's birth certificate in Piraeus. It's the Lexiarchia, which is 2 blocks from the port, the huge building. And you go in there, they're reasonably efficient. I had to have the birth date, right, the year and everything, and they, it was in Slovenia, and they just copied down the information. Wow. However, it was very quick and very easy. However, they would not give it to me because my name is Elias Vlanton, and his name was Vlantonopoulos. And so they said, "How do we know that you're related to him?"
And that's the problem.
After 100 years, do you think somebody with almost the same name, not related to him, would come look for the record?
Actually, in Australia, the law is anything over 100 years old is public information. Doesn't matter if you're related or not. They wouldn't even ask the question.
Would you mind sending that address through to us in the chat? I would be very, very interested, because when I go over, I'd stay in Piraeus. I would be very, very interested to see what records we could possibly try and get. You
could always go to the KEP office, KEP, which is Kendro Expertisi Politon, I think, and they will point you in the right direction according to what papers you want.
Actually, I had gone to the KEP office in Potamo first.
Oh, not very helpful, Elias.
They gave it to me. They found it within a day. I came back the next day. And they had all the information.
I had a similar
But
experience.
then, because they had gotten it from Pira and sent it over.
Oh, wow.
When they saw the names were not identical, they didn't want to give it to me either. Then so I go to Pira and that didn't work. But they have it. They have it. It's very efficient.
Okay.
I mean, Alexia here has it and it's very efficient. And I think there were, including my father and several clan members. I mean, there were a ton of Tirihuetas who lived in the 19 teens and 20s in Pira.
Yep.
And
I know.
yeah, in Camina and neighboring communities.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a small community.
Okay,
I mean,
Tony. Tony Karavosanos, you still online, or are you leaving now? No,
Who are you asking?
Tony Karavosanos.
No,
No, he must have gone. Okay, I'll email him. I'll email him. All right, sorry, continue. Does anybody else have any
coming back?
questions?
He's coming back. Here he comes.
Yes, Amelia. I have never seen a picture of my grandfather, Anastasio Pavlomoulos.
Let me see.
Not a single. I don't know what he looks like, and he's my grandfather.
Yeah,
married to Gregoria Cristiano Moulos. So Moulos was her married name, Cristiano. But I have never seen Anastasio Moulos. And
what year would he be born?
What's that again? Logothionica. And it looks like you said he was born in 1875, Logothionica.
There's an Anastasios Moulos in Sydney, Australia, the son of Christos Moulos and Botica.
No, this guy's in Wichita, Kansas. He died. His father was Pavlos Moulos and Kirana Klenzo. Is that them?
That's them.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a photo either.
Yeah, I don't.
Nothing. No, I can tell you he was 5'6", 185 pounds, with a dark complexion, black hair, black grey hair, and grey eyes. That's all I know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so you see, here's where it's a problem. So if people don't have their own family photos, they're lost to history now, this man. Yeah, he's lost.
Absolutely.
His identity, his photo, he's lost. We're trying
Makes
to
me
say,
sad. It makes me sad. I have a few pictures of my grandmother, a few, but very few young. Mostly know her when she was here.
Okay, I don't have any copies of her either. So if you would like to send them through and add them to our project, we're trying to preserve the memories of these people, and I do intend to publish this work in a few years' time, hopefully. So the future generations will remember these people.
Absolutely. I will do that. Thank you.
Send them through to me. Thank you. You've got my email address, so send it through. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else got any questions about their family?
No, I was wondering if you have any idea where the historic origin of the Petroculus name is from. I was on an archaeological walk a few years ago, and they said it came from originally Asia Minor to Crete to Kythera, maybe in the 1600s.
I'm holding this book in my hand called Kytherian Surnames. Yeah. Fantastic. So I will look up Patroclus for you and I'll tell you. This was written by Emmanuel Kaligiros, and he spent 18 years researching all the names on Kythera. So if he doesn't know it, nobody does. Patroclus.
Yep. And if you want to buy the book, we sell it at the Kytherian World Heritage Fund. I'll put the link. We have an online shop. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I think you have copies on Kythera too as well.
Yeah, okay. It says it's a by name of the branch of the Varouchas family of Crete. Back in 1254, it was noted. Yeah, there were a lot of by names that came from the Varouchas family. The earliest occurrence of the surname can be found in Antikythera. Local tradition holds that 1494, the island's residents captured a Venetian warship that had moored here because of bad weather. They killed the crew and grabbed the contents. According to the tradition of Demetrios Patroclus from the village of Logothechanica on Kythera, informed the Venetian governor of this event. In retaliation, the Venetians burnt Antikythera and sent the inhabitants to the Adriatic, and they also chopped Patroclus into 4 pieces. From this time, it is said that the island remained uninhabited until the end of the 18th century when it was resettled by Cretans. This incident, although it preserves important details and has clear references to names, cannot be found in the Venetian sources, and there are thus serious doubts as to whether it actually occurred. Oh, well. It also says Patroklos does not occur at Logothetanica during any period, although it is possible that tradition has incorrectly preserved the village. So that's probably just a rumour. The first official evidence in the written sources appears in the mid-16th century in a contract dated 1564. Over 10 Patroklos families are mentioned. So if there's 10 families mentioned, it must go back a fair few generations before that. So it's been on Kythera for 1500s.
Yeah, I know it's old, and then because I know there was a photographer in Smyrna with that name who was some kind of who was a fairly well-known photographer.
Amalia and Martina Zervos, you could send a PDF of that particular section to your year if it's acceptable to you. I think that'd be good for your year to have.
I think it's a bit copyright infringing-y.
Okay.
But yes, look, send me an email and I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I just, I've got to, Amalia, I've got to go, but I want to say a couple of things. I don't know if you can see this book.
Where are you?
Barely. It's the next big thing in Kytherian stuff is Susan Johnson's book called Aphrodite's Breath, coming out on April the 4th. And you can pre-order now. It's by the very large publishing house in Australia called Allen and Unwin. And it's the story of Susan taking her mother to Kythera, 85-year-old mother, and living there for 2 years, a couple of years ago.
Oh, so that'd be interesting.
That book, I can't get it.
Yeah, George, you got to take your blur background off so that it's clear.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And put a link online how to get it.
There's an article in this month's Kytherian newsletter about it.
I thought I'd said it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's coming out. That's available to be on April 4th. What we would have done in the old days, Martina, is buy 30 copies and resell them because we'd normally get a 30 or 40% discount on that.
Hey, George, that's what we're going to do, and we've got a talk event scheduled with Susan in Sydney on the 4th of May.
Good. So that's really fantastic. And Dean, I'm going to. I've got Susan to send over about 30 copies to Kythera as well. So so we'll do that. The other thing is Titsa still there. Is Titsa from the Kavakos sculptures still with us?
She's here. Titsa, you're muted though. Unmute yourself.
She's gone, has she?
She's here.
Okay, so Titsa,
got it.
Titsa, I've had this idea in my mind for many years, but I've been kind of snowed under with 6 or 7 different things. But what I'd like to do, and I've already tracked down a MRI company in Baltimore who can take an MRI X-ray scan of those 2 photos. And with your permission, although I'm sure it's well out of copyright now, because they would have been done in the 1920s, I'd like to get a scan and have them manufactured, maybe a limited edition. So if that's an idea that appeals to you, I'm very happy to run with it. The concept is we get the company in Baltimore, do an MRI scan suitable for reproducing the sculptures, and we do a limited edition. So it's just an idea I'm throwing out. I'm being very quick because unfortunately I've got to go. It's been incredibly interesting and the depth of knowledge is extraordinary. And I commend Vicky and Amalia and Kalie in particular, because it's just beyond extraordinary, actually. So congratulations to all. I'm sorry I have to go. I love it all, as you know, but I'm out of here. Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, George.
George,
had a-
email me.
Yes,
I've had a-
Victor.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, G. See you later.
Okay, I've had a special request by email. Somebody wants to know about the history of the name Samios. It basically says, yes, it's the oldest name that comes from a region on Kythera. It's from the island Samos. A lot of locals were ejected from Samos, I think it says, in the 1204, and some of them ended up in Kythera. And it says here, tradition holds that the Samios reached Kythera after the fall of Constantinople to the Turks in 1453. So it's a very old name in Kythera. It's actually found in quite a few villages, which is unusual. But Robert, I think it was you that asked, you can say that you could possibly be related to Pythagoras because he was from Samios. So if you're good at maths, it was his great-great-great-great-grandfather Pythagoras.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
I think that's why my daughter was good
Incredible.
at maths.
Hey,
She's related to Pythagoras.
That's a bit of a stretch, Amalia. But
Hey,
anyway,
I'm claiming it. Unless anybody can disprove it, Kalie, I'm claiming it.
Hey, Amalia, does it talk about why they were ejected from Samos?
Yes, hang on. It is known that Samos fell to the Genoese in 1204 with the Fourth Crusade, after which the Giustiniani family took over the island, ruling it until 1475. They then forced the inhabitants to abandon the island and settled on Chios in 1479. In 1546, Samos was described as being completely deserted by the French traveller Bellon, who claimed that there was not even a single village on it. So there you go. Yeah, so some of them end up in Kythera after that. There you go. I didn't know that, and that's my own surname. Not my blood, but still my own surname.
Amalia?
Yes.
Amalia, hi, it's Athena Koroneos. My grandfather came over to Philadelphia, I think he settled in Egypt, and then he took a freighter from Hamburg, Germany to go to Ellis Island, then he went to Philadelphia. So I'm curious because there are different branches of the Coronel, and I don't know which branch I'm from.
I can tell you.
His first name was Demetrius, and he had brothers Harry and George. And
you know what year he would have been born?
Yeah, I have it.
I'll tell you in a minute, Amalia.
Thanks, Vicky.
When is he?
90.
Hi, Georgia. How are you?
Hang on, let me see where he died. This guy died. No, he's
He
Australian.
died in New York City.
Okay, Athena's grandfather was Demetrios, born 1883 in Caravaggio, who married, well, they didn't marry so Demetrius.
Seriously, are you related to
Guess what?
Demetrius?
It's Nicolo and Kyriaki Mavro Georgi.
Yes, so his sister Eleni Coronel was my grandmother's sister. My grandmother's mother. Yeah, so we're related.
Peloponnese Coronels, I think.
No, he goes Faganath, it's Paratsukli is, which means big eaters.
Pardon me, one more time.
Fagana, which means
Fagana.
big eaters.
Big eaters?
Eaters.
Eaters. Oh, fagas, like fagas.
Fagana, yes. That's how I claim my
from
big
the
fish
fagas branch.
So you're related to Amalia.
Yes. I'm just going to stick this. Hang on, I'm just going to do the Zoom share the screen thing here. I'm showing you my family tree. So here we have Nicolas and Kyriaki, those photos that Vicky showed us before. They're also your great grandparents.
Yes, I think, Vicky, you gave me those. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is your Dimitri here. I don't have his wife marked.
I can give you her name.
Oh, what was it?
Rose Kolokitas, like the squash.
Kolokitas. Well, Kolokitha. Okay, done. She's now on there.
Is she from Chios?
She was born in 1903 in Philadelphia.
Yeah, she was born in Philadelphia, then raised in Sparta and Yithion, and then came back to Philadelphia. And I was told that this was an arranged marriage between my papu and Yaya.
Always.
Always. Oh, okay.
Yeah, most of them were back in those days.
Yeah, most of them.
This woman here, Eleni, she is my Yaya's mother, and this Zaneto Megalokonomos is my Yaya's father, obviously, but he is Kalie's great grandfather's brother, Kalie? Great grandfather.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And Ian Perry, are you online?
I stem from Nicola, and Amalia stems from Zaneto.
And if Ian Perry's online, he comes from Evangelos, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this Theodoros, he was somehow related to my papu as the governor, no, the mayor of Caravas or something. Is he the one in the picture where the woman died in childbirth or something?
No, he was Theodosios. That was Theodosios. No, it's not him. Aphrodite Coronel is related to Kiran. It's Kiran's great grandmother. That's where Kalie Kiran Samios's mother Aphrodite is named after her.
Oh, okay.
And this Haralambos, so these people had a factory in sorry, I got you software. I'm still trying to work out how to use it.
That's okay. Is that the building in Philadelphia?
Yes,
the one
the
that-
building.
Yeah, I know. I think I sent that. Yeah, it's still in existence.
Do you know the story behind that building?
My proto Theo. I mean, it was Harry, George, and Demetrius. Yes. What happened is what I was told. So it goes that my proto papu had a pushcart business in Philadelphia. And then it became so successful that they pooled their resources and built that building. And it's still standing. It's on Bainbridge and 5th in Philadelphia.
Okay, sorry, before you start.
What's a push cart? What's that?
Like a you know when you get those
wagon, like a wagon, like a cart that they push, you know, like to sell produce.
I have to correct myself, Kalie. This is that Panagiotis, his mother Aphrodite is who Aphrodite Samios is named from, not her. Okay, so in the story, this Yorgos here, do you know the story about how he died?
No. Oh,
okay.
Hold on. Is that my
Dimitri's brother? Yes. When they were building the shop,
that was Harry.
Harry's brother too.
I think that was Harambolos. He fell through. They were under construction, and he fell through, and he died. That's the story.
That was Haralambos, was it?
Yes, Harambolos. And I think he was like the brains of the operation, so they said. Wow, look at 5'8".
Hang on. I think it's Yorgos.
Not tall. Not at all, people.
No, the Kytherians aren't.
No.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Except for my dad's family and also my mother's on my mother's side as well.
So
that looks like my papu.
That is actually the grave of Yorgos. I think it's Yorgos was the one who died with the building collapsing on him.
Okay,
and that's his grave.
confirm that because we have some first and second cousins that are still living around the Philadelphia area, and we're all supposed to get together. But yeah, that was happened. And then I think after that, my papu moved to New York, and then he also lived at Tarpon Springs for a while, where he did sponge diving.
Okay.
But then I think at that time he was diabetic, and he also had some TB, and he died in a sanitarium in New York City.
Wow.
So sad.
Yeah. My father said he remembers visiting them. They were like in the lobby, and they had to talk to them feet away because they didn't know how contagious it was, and they couldn't control the diabetes mellitus. So it was a fight between the TB and the diabetes, and that's how he died.
Okay. Well, if you could email that to me, I'll add it to his file because it's my family too. So this is the grave of Yorgos Koronelos. I actually think he was the one. I think I'm just trying to find the photos of the rest of the grave, but I think it says a story about how he died in Philadelphia. That's the end of the grave. I think it tells you how
1968. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Hang on. I'll go back to that one. And that doesn't say the year. Let me get back to my family tree. I've got George at okay. At the reading of his will, it was found that he was requested to be buried in his beloved Karava.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What year was that, Amalia?
He died 1921.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. New family.
That's awesome. My father said that his father they don't have any of height or anything of his.
Who was your father, Theodoros?
Dimitri. My papa was Demetrius.
Dimitri.
That's
So,
the
5'7" with brown hair and brown eyes.
Oh, he's a teeny man.
No, actually 5'7" is about average for a Kytherian.
Is it? Because I'm almost 5'7", and I'm like, wow, that's really small.
Yeah.
But he's buried with my Theo and my father in Mount Olivet Cemetery in Bayside, Queens.
Wow. Email that to me too. That'd be great.
Yeah, so he's
going back to the height. I have looked at the heights of hundreds of Kytherians, and I can tell you there's maybe 5 or 6 that are over 6 foot. So not many. There's a lot 5'1", 4'9".
Oh my gosh!
One of them.
I don't know how accurate this is, but my father said that my papu spoke multiple languages because of his dealings with the import business. He said he walked through the stores and he would smell cheeses and olive oil and olives and everything.
Well, I can tell you, when they went to school in Kythera, which this really surprised me. I got the education, the school results, and it tells you the subjects they studied. And they studied French every time, Greek, ancient Greek, sometimes English, sometimes Latin. So sometimes these kids are at school learning 3 languages at once. So French was common. And so, yes, you probably did know French. You probably did know English. You probably did know Greek.
Well, French at that time was considered the international
European language
after World War II.
But even during the British period, they were teaching them French, not English, which I found unusual.
Well, also you have to understand the national language of Russia at that time was also French too.
Oh, okay.
Because it was Tsar Nicholas and Tsarina Alexandra would speak in French as opposed to Russian. But she was of German descent. I don't know, from the whole.
Yes, it's all confusing. They also, most of the students suffered calligraphy and iconography as well. So often when you see all these signatures together, actually, I'll show you a page, see if I can find one. When you see all the signatures together, you got, hang on, school results. So I'll tell you, so when I was doing the school results, I was photographing them, and a big book was sticking out. It wasn't in order, and I do everything methodically. And I thought, I'm going to do this book first. I'm just snapping away, taking photos. I'll just go back to sharing my screen. Anyway, I got back to my room. Took 4,000 photos, got back home, and I thought I'd look at the photos. So here's all the signatures of the students as they picked up their
they're beautiful. Results.
That very first one is Zanetos Megalokonomos, my great-grandfather. So it was almost like this book was yelling out to me, take photos of here I'm in this book. But the very first one in this book was Zanetos. So, but you can sort of see all the kids had, not this one so much, but a lot of them had very similar writing. And I put that down to, they did calligraphy at school. They were taught how to write properly.
Right.
And even as older men, you can see they've got beautiful handwriting. And I think it's because they look here, they're all fairly similar.
Right.
Can I just say something there?
Yep.
A lot of years ago, I actually studied graphology, and there's quite a lot in a signature, and it doesn't really matter what language it's in.
Interesting.
The slant matters. So, for example, a rightward slant would show a more extroverted character.
Someone like this one.
Let's have a look. Show us again.
Yeah, I'll just make it bigger. Something like that one's fancy.
A rightward slant. The more rightward leaning, the more kind of hot-tempered somebody might be as well. There are lots of different signs to this kind of thing. An upright hand would show somebody who was more head over heart. So if a rightward leaning thing was more emotional,
fairly upright.
Yeah, an upright hand would be, and a leftward leaning, like a person moving away from you, leaning backwards. A leftward leaning would show a more introverted character. The sides, of course, yes, so that it wouldn't be somebody who was they might be a little bit on the shy side, have a very rich inner life, that kind of stuff. The size of the writing matters as well. And signatures, well, you haven't got a full page of writing, but if you had got a full page of writing, and let's say the signature at the end was in keeping with the rest of the handwriting, in other words, the slant was fairly even and so on, you'd probably find that that person's private persona was the same as the public persona. Where somebody's signature is out of keeping with the rest of the handwriting on a page of handwriting, then you'd find that, you know, they had one face that they showed to the public and another one that was shown in private. And interestingly, you get some people whose handwriting flip-flops, you know, and there are lots of different signs. It's been a while since I looked at it, but these are things that I can remember off the top of my head now. So
I'm going to Google that now when I finish.
Yeah, you should look. You know, it's a fascinating. It's an absolutely fascinating study.
Fascinating.
Of, yeah.
Would that be indicative of someone, say, who wrote left-handed?
Yeah, now the left-handers are really quite interesting people because you know, what they do is they adjust. Well, first of all, in the UK, they used to try and get kids to write right-handed, even though they were left-handed. That's certainly from my generation of people. That doesn't happen anymore. But what a left-hander does is to switch the paper right round.
They angle it. Yeah.
They angle it to kind of get the slant. I have a friend who's left-handed, and I've looked closely at her writing, which resembles another friend's writing she's right-handed, and the pair of them write in tiny letters with a disconnected script. So the business of connectedness matters as well. You know, how connected or disconnected is a script. The more connected something is, the more logical the thinker, the writer. The more disconnected people tend, you know, depends on how many gaps are within the letters and the words and how far apart they are. But you'll find that people who are disconnected writers often like time to themselves. They get a lot of information coming in and they get kind of overwhelmed, so they need a bit of space to recover from too much information coming in, for example. Whereas, you know, logical thinkers, like I have a friend who's a mathematician, and you know, her writing is seriously heavily connected, and she's an upright writer. She's not at all comfortable in the realm of emotions. You know, if somebody gets emotional around her, she becomes deeply uncomfortable. So it's quite interesting. You probably get some insight, I think, if you had a look at that. I didn't find it as interesting as I've found it.
Fascinating.
In Australia, in primary school, we had to have a sheet behind our page, and that taught us how to do running writing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Still, you adjusted that as time went on.
Yeah, but you see, it's a spontaneous thing. You stop thinking, unless you're writing unless you've been taught something like, I don't know, calligraphy, for example, which is very measured, you know, and you're being taught to write in a particular kind of script in that way. But over time, if you look at your own handwriting, over time, you'll find it alters quite considerably.
That was my next question. So these are the signatures by the kids like 14, 15, 12 years old. And then you see their signatures as adults when they've come to Australia. You can tell it's written by the same person, even though one's Greek and one's English, but you can still see a difference. Is that because they're being life in Australia?
Utterly normal, because as people develop, their script will develop. So you'll find, for example, people who have quite what looks like slow, very measured handwriting, and others whose handwriting runs away with them, you know, runs off the page.
Doctors.
I've seen Kytherians like that. Like this somebody here might have a very neat signature when they're young, but it becomes a scrawling mess by the time they're in Australia.
Yes. And illness shows in the script as well. I've got samples of my dad's handwriting, he was a Scot, he wasn't Greek. And he'd had lessons as an adult. He'd had lessons in handwriting when he attended some kind of training that he undertook when he was in his 20s. And his descenders, which is the lower letters like Y's and G's, they were all corrected by whoever was correcting his as being too long. So sometimes if you get a line, for example, interfering with the next line, so the descenders are interfering with the next line, you could get people who for example, don't are kind of confused and confusing to be around, that their emotions are confused. It's a fascinating topic.
If you're doing this week now.
Yeah, if you're interested,
I'm going to Google that. That is
brilliant.
That's amazing.
There's a good. I've got some good books on this stuff, but there's for starters, there were a couple called Amend and Ruiz from America. I think they were an American.
Amend and what?
Amend and Ruiz, which is Ruiz, and their book I found very, very helpful. Yeah. I can't do anything about it now because I'm tight for time, and
that's fine. That's fine.
I won't be back from Greece until the end of April. But if you are interested, I can give you some titles of the books that I've
That'd be
got.
Fantastic.
You might find
just
interesting.
This one here, is that Coroneos?
Oh, where? That one. Yes. Theodoros Coroneos.
Yes, Dean.
He was 17 years old at the time, and this was 1898, 1899.
I think I see a Condeleon in there as well, but
probably. De la Cuvia, we talked about them before.
Oh, yeah.
De la Cuvia.
Zervos.
De la Cuvia, it's funny, that surname is also over in southern Peloponnesos, because my mum's next door neighbour's mother was a De la Cuvia. And she was quite interested to see if maybe she was from Kythera.
No, it's a Xeni name in Kythera.
There's a Panagius as well. Hold on.
There's a lot of
there's a Panagius here, isn't it? Sure.
That's Marcellos.
Marcellos.
Yeah. What did surprise me going through these school results were how many were non-Kytherian born people. Here's a Constantinidis. That's not Kytherian.
Amalia, you have to think, and I'll reiterate this again, is that don't forget we were under British rule. The British were very heavily.
This is 1900, Kalie.
It doesn't matter, but the fact that we were still very well educated, the rest of Greece.
Yeah, the Klensos.
Who is that? What's the initial?
Dimitri. D.
Dimitri, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Kalie, also in your point, there would have been a lot of people that would have been sent to Kythera for work that weren't locals.
But also, Amalia,
had to be educated.
It continued into the 1970s when I was taken there as a child. There was a school in Milopotamos that had been set up for girls, and it was the scholi which taught them how to sew, how to do all of different things. Yeah, cook. Yeah, and a lot of girls from southern Peloponnesos were coming across for that. So it could be that the southern part of Peloponnesos didn't have schools like we did, so they would send their kids across.
Before the school was built in Milopotamos, it operated in Carbonades.
There you go.
Quite a few. These are the high schools in Potamo and Hora we've got the documents for. That was another point, Kalie, that you just brought up. Out of all the thousands of documents that I had read up until this point, and I'm talking tens of thousands of documents, these were the first ones that had women, had girls.
Yes. So I've done a little bit of history about the British schools on Kythera. Deborah Harland, who is from the British School of Athens, she has written a fantastic paper about the schools. And she mentions in there that there was schooling for girls. Now, I know for a fact that my great-grandmother, according to my mother, had attended one of those in Portamor, as did my grandmother.
Yes.
And apparently it is where the man's house was.
So I have a photo of a sewing school.
Yes, exactly. They'll quite common in
Great.
Kithera, which is a big
You want to
thing.
share that, Lisa?
Yes, that's
How
fantastic.
Let me see. Do you have it as a document?
I don't have it on this computer. I don't have it on this computer, but I
There you
can
go. That works.
email
That
it to you.
That's
My
great.
yaya's
Email
in
it to
there.
Vicky and she can share it.
Yeah.
And where is that taken? What year
I
is it?
don't know. Well, my yaya is this lady over here, and so
What village was she from?
she was from Pratia,
Gracias. So that might be good.
or maybe Milapotamo.
Could be. But Tony just said before that it was Garbunadas, which makes sense.
The Scully Milapotamos was built when Coxman was in the Kithera, and that
So
was
in
in
the
the 50s or 60s.
It
So prior
looks
to
like
that, my auntie from Tasmania, she went to the one in Carbonadas, and she was born in 1935.
Oh my God,
that's fantastic information.
Also, the high school in Napoli wasn't built until the 60s. The kids from Napoli used to go to school in Kithera, in Hora.
There you go.
In high school.
Just to get off topic a bit, Theodora Adigun, are you still on here?
Yes. Yes, she
Okay, there's right here that says V. Margetis.
Oh my God, that's my grandfather.
Yeah, that's your grandfather.
Oh,
can I ask a question, please?
Yep.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Can I have that?
Are the people who are born in Antikythera considered Kytherians?
Yeah, good question.
Kithera does their documents, but I don't know. There are more Cretan names than Kytherian names on the island.
Right. Okay.
But if you're looking for the births, deaths, and marriages for Antikythera, you go to Kithera.
Of the people of Antikythera?
Yes. If you're looking for documents for Antikythera, you have to look at the Kytherian documents.
Okay. Thank you.
That's not their,
send me an email and I'll email it to you. To
There's
remind
no
me.
documentation from Antikythera to Kythera, though.
Sorry?
So it's family reliant from Antikythera to Kythera. There's no document storage on Antikythera. There isn't at all.
No, that's right.
So
and most
if
of
your
the names,
family was if your family was well off, you've probably got a record, but if not, you might be at Buckley's, basically.
Well, I've got a very coincidental story for you. So to get these documents, I had to go the first deaths and marriages. I had to go to the Mormon church at Mortdale, where you used to get the microfilms in, but now it's more modern. You can actually be on their computers and anybody can see them online. So this is a tiny little library. There's 4 computers. There was me and 3 other people in the room. And I walked in, I said, I want to look something up. And they're trying to explain. So, no, I've been doing this for years. And typing it in, and she said, you need to find the date. And I said, look, I'm looking for the whole island. I'm doing an island in Greece. I'm doing the whole island. And she said, isn't that funny? This lady up the end's doing an island in Greece too. Her name was Sue McLeod. And she was research. She was as Aussie as they looked, blonde, curly hair, as Aussie as they looked. She was doing her great-grandfather from Antikythera, and she was looking at the same microfilms that I was looking at.
Wow.
Yeah, out of the whole, and now we have quite a good friendship on email now, but what are the chances? 4 people in the room and we're both looking at the same microfilm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But look, a lot of the people went to Kithera, and we do have a lot of their signatures: Blaveris, Antiotus, Trifilis, Casimati. That's some great information there. And
those books only for the high school, are they?
They're the high school ones, yes. Yeah. And so here you got their school results. So some of the books, let me see, I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've typed these in. Let's try book 4. Across the top here, they tell you the subject and what mark they got for each subject. Greek, New Greek, Maths,
religion,
French, history, geography, psychology, what was that? Psychology?
Yes, psychology.
Physics, natural history, gymnastics, what's that? Care.
Gymnastics?
Yeah.
Like probably like a calisthenics.
Physical education.
Physical education.
Yeah, PE.
Calligraphy, iconography.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just think this whole thing was very fascinating. I really like going through these school results.
And it just shows you, it reiterates what my mother told me when she moved to Australia and her experiences as a young woman here, how many people from other parts of Greece could not read or write.
Yes.
And she found that absolutely fascinating because all the Kytherians could read and write.
Wow.
Or most of them anyway. Most of them could read and write. So, yeah. She often found a lot of people that couldn't read and write Greek, let alone learn to read and write in English.
You take those photos on the table.
So you can also see the school results to tell you they did very well or just good. Look, the school results were I was quite excited to have those. And I took a photo of every single certificate. Let's see if I've got them here, loose documents. They had results from the Greek school at Hydra. That's the actual result the kid would have taken home. So I photographed 1,000 of those or 2,000 of those. And then I get to the bottom of the folder, bottom of the cupboard. I don't know if I've got a photo of the cupboard here. And there was a summary of everything that I had just done, all on, 32 a page as opposed to one each. I did waste a day, but that doesn't matter.
I have my mother's.
Results? Oh, so do we. So Mum showed me hers too. Apolitirio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the reason why the Kytherian children were more educated than others in the Peloponnesos?
I truly believe it was a legacy from the British.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
It continued on, and it just because that's how they were brought up.
Right.
Education was actually compulsory under British rule. And we know this because of the records that we have had a look at from the British Times, which show that if you didn't go to school, there were truancy records as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you had to justify why you were truant. So some of the records show that, it was harvest time or whatever. And if your child couldn't do it, then there was also the Angaria, which was the forced labour of the men. So they had to go and do forced labour. And so if your children couldn't go to school or whatever, they had to go and do forced labour another time, or the father would have to go and do extra forced labour. So a lot of the infrastructure that was built on Kythera was used with Kytherians doing the labour.
But did the education include girls?
It did, yes, because we have
not from the start though. Not from the start.
No, not from the start. Not under Venetian law rules by any means.
Under British?
But under British. Yeah.
Oh, they did?
That would make sense, yeah.
We don't know from the very beginning, but we know towards the 1850s, I think from then on, girls, because if you're interested, if you Google Deborah Harlan, British Lancastrian schools on Kythera, it's a great paper. Have a read.
How do you spell her last name?
Harlan.
Thank you.
Just
in the UK, they actually insisted on children at one time to get them out of the factories because they were working in mills and so on. Little children.
Where
they in the UK yeah. So that to get them out of there, but. At one point, I did know a very old lady here when I was a teenager who had been educated to the age of 11. So I'm not surprised by what you're saying. But for my father's generation, the school leaving age was 14. And for my generation, the school leaving age was 15. And it was raised to 16 in 1972. And now it's 18 by the back door. There hasn't been any legislation on it. It's just that if somebody were to up sticks and leave 16, they wouldn't be able to get a job. So I'm not surprised by what you're saying. I'm just wondering what the school leaving age would have been at that time. Would it have been in Kythera? Would it have been 11? Would it have been
12, maybe 12? Some of those results that we had were 17, 18. Earlier, the school was about 11, 12.
Right, okay.
I think the compulsory education was for primary school, to be honest.
Yes, right. I think high school is a bonus.
Because you see that the fact that education existed from the British says a lot about what those kids grew to and what they did later.
Yes,
I mean it's a big aspect of that Kytherian history.
Absolutely, and it also
there was a huge resentment of British education in Kythera at that time, though. So
there was, there is a resentment, and I think still to this very day that resentment shows because they don't value any of the British stuff that is on Kythera. They've done nothing.
No, everything here that's British is neglected and not supported.
Yeah,
that's the old story of every country that the Britons went to. They were always eventually they were ousted because people wanted to be independent. But look what the British did. But before they were ousted, look what they did for the civilization they were in.
Yeah, correct.
The sun never set on the British flag.
Yeah, just to go back to what Kalie was saying about the school results, how we've got the absenteeism, that in itself can teach us a lot of stuff. One boy had to leave school because he had to take his yaya to church, but you often find kids that they had 12 days off school, then they had 9 days off school the next term, or they had 2 months off school, and then they died not long later. So it can show you that they probably had a disease, a sickness, a cancer or something that killed them. So it can give us some family history as well.
And another aspect is how much religion, what the church part played in the part of education later on. Because I mean, it was a small island.
It was a small island. So, very early, we've actually seen one of the church registers has, Kalie, I don't know if you remember this. Remember, it was a whole lot of writing, line after line after line, and it was 4 twisted around. We think it was the priest teaching the students. And I've got a book.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and we've got a book here, the Archbishop and what he did in 1857 to 1877. And there it tells you, I've made this priest the teacher for this village. So the priests were the education. Before the British were in, the priests were the educators as well.
No, 1857, that's when the British were.
There's some in there too that say yes.
But absolutely. But absolutely, you're absolutely correct. You have to realise that the priests played a really big role in bygone eras. They were like the mayor of the village. Like you wanted to do anything.
Marriage offers.
They were exactly. They often they were any official documents were taken to the priest to endorse or read. They played a major role.
The priest was the be-all and end-all.
Sorry, can I just add a little bit about the schooling thing? In Alosyanika, I'm Theodora. In Alosyanika, I discovered that one of the large rooms in my great-grandfather's house was actually used as a school for some time in the early 1900s. Wow. And I learned this from a gentleman in Warwick in Queensland who I just stumbled across his shop when I was visiting from a day trip from Toowoomba. I went to Toowoomba anyway. And he said, his name was Jim Samios, I think you may know him. And he said that a gentleman called Dimitri Samios, which was my great-grandfather, got him to write letters to his 4 sons, Milton, Miltiadis, Alexandros, Panayoti, and Polychronis. And he told me stuff that were in letters that only the recipients would have known, except for the fact that he was a young boy in this village school in my great-grandfather's house who dictated the letters to the 4 sons and in turn read them back to him when they wrote back to their father.
That's
and I wouldn't have known that hadn't I just stumbled across his shop in Warwick. and to get a first-hand information on. He knew all the cousins, the sons and the daughters of each of these people. He knew that when my grandfather went to Greece in 1952 with his family, that he bought an American left-hand drive car for the year that he was there. And I went, no one would know that except my family. And he was able to give me that first-hand account of someone who died in 1952, 51, I think, just before my grandfather actually went over to visit. And that's when the letters stopped coming, obviously. So it's absolutely fascinating with the education thing. I just wanted to also share a screen of a photograph when you were talking about the Samios name, but it's actually not the Samios stuff that I've got. How do I do this? Hang on a second.
I think I made you a co-host.
Oh, have you?
Do you see?
Can I share the screen now?
You should be able to. Do you see it?
Can anyone see my screen?
Yeah, at the bottom there, just share screen. You got to tell it. There you go.
Can you see the photo? Sorry, I can't orientate that differently. This
wow.
is my mother was a Samios, and her father moved to Piraeus and had a furniture factory there.
Wow.
And 1903, it's the photographer down at the bottom. You can see the crest. It's the royal family photographers who took this. And I don't know who the people are in the photo. And if the people on the left of the photograph, the gentleman in rather fine dress, I don't know who they are. Maybe the designers, maybe the floor managers, I'm not sure. And then you've got all the young boys in the furniture factory of 1903 registered in Piraeus.
Can you send me a copy of that photo, Fedora? That's fantastic.
That's a great photo.
It's just too beautiful. and the crest at the bottom. Well, when my grandmother graduated from the conservatorium in Piraeus doing piano, she went to back to Kythera for her summer holidays, and she was sitting in the house that is still owned by Panayoti Samios from the Portamore souvenir shop. His son is now moved into the house. Well, that was the house my grandmother was sitting on the balcony of with her sister Ellie. And further down the street was the other Samios, being my grandfather, who was walking. He visited from Australia, and he was visiting his father up the other end of the village, walks down past the thing and sees my grandmother up on the balcony and says hello. And that's where they met, fell in love, and later, and 2 or 3 months later, they were married. So
your grandfather was Miltiades, wasn't he?
Yes, that's right.
And how is that? Because he's the only one I've ever come across.
Sorry, how is he connected to this furniture place?
His wife, that's her father's shop.
Oh, wow.
That's his father-in-law's shop.
And that's why they were so wealthy. So is she studying music up in Athens?
Yes,
as well?
both of them were studying piano at the Conservatorium of Piraeus, both her and her sister.
That's amazing.
I've just shared another photo here.
Look at this.
Look at that. Robert Samios, if he's online. So Robert didn't even know he was Greek. He had a fair idea he was Greek. One day my husband, Michael, responded to something, and Robert said, "Oh, you're Samios. Do you know where our name comes from?" And since then, Michael and Robert have been talking a fair bit, I think. But this is his grandfather, and look at the thing. It's got Samios written on it.
Oh, my God. Sorry. What was this guy's name?
Robert.
Robert, you have a photo.
Iowani, I think. Michael, did Iowani?
No, Nicholas Samios.
Nicholas.
Robert, are you there to talk about it?
Thanks, Michael.
Robert,
I wanted to share one more photo of the family tree thing.
I'll get off my share screen. Hang on.
How to do my screen thing again. Hang on.
I just stopped.
Robert,
I've lost it. Oh, here we go.
Unmute yourself, Robert.
I've lost it now. Hang on.
There you are. You're on. I think.
I'll get.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let me just let Fedora finish her thing, and then Robert, you can come.
Sorry, just one more little thing. This is I've got a big gap with the Commono line. Somehow I've come across this piece of paper that my aunt had amongst her many thousands of photographs, and it's the Komnenos, but it's the original Commono kind of name, going back to 1000. So you got 1081 to 1185.
Can you send me that as well, Theodora?
There's no way we can link
between
we can't link to that.
because
it's got Andronicus in it.
the
That's
record.
Andronicus. That's Pelagianica Kominos.
No, that can be Potamo. That Andronicus
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
Andronicus is found. It could be Antikythera even
as well. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot link the records we have to these because the records we have start from the 1600s. We know
the records the archives have start. That you have actually traced people start at the 1600s.
Exactly. We know that there were records from the old capital of Kythera, which was Agios Dimitrios. However, it was ransacked in 1537.
Oh, what a shame.
We do know that there are some records that are in Venice. Maltesu, what's her first name, Amalia?
Priscilla.
Yeah, Maltesos. When I was in Kythera 1 year, I was told by somebody else that she had records that she knew of dating back to the 1200s, specifically about families who were in Agios Dimitrios. And those records are in Venice. So I don't know what else may be in Venice. Look, it may be.
We better go and find out, Kalie.
I know. It could be. Look, if the records are in Venice and they used to, like the British used to make copies of the records. That's why we have everything on Kythera. I'm hoping that was the same case in Venice, and perhaps our records are in Venice. But if they were, I think Maltesa would have already done something with them because she's the lady that put together all the census books.
I think she would have too.
Yeah.
And I do know for a fact there's nothing 1600s.
No,
because what's interesting that
can I
your
just
work.
say something? The I don't know if you're aware, but on Zakynthos, I think it's Zakynthos, there's a Solomos museum, I think, and I went to look round when I was there some years ago, and all the houses, there are a bunch of shields on a wall, like heraldic shields on a wall there, and I saw the Logothetis shield on that wall, and these were the houses of Venice that were recorded on that wall. So if you look, I'm almost certain you might be able to get hold of these things online. They're worth looking at because. Am I right in thinking all those islands were under British rule?
All of them.
And Kalie, Amalia, your work has revealed with my ancestry.com thing. So I've worked with your book and I've put together and I've started to type in slowly all the information. I've actually found links slowly revealing with the Katsuli name, one of the back names to 1700s, Cazzuli. It keeps going back and back, and I've found a record that he came from Guria in Italy and married someone in Kythera.
There's a Guria in Kythera.
Isn't that funny?
Oh,
There's a Guria in Kythera.
This one came up with.
Are you sure it's not Guria in Logothetianica?
Yeah. Is it?
Oh, okay.
Amalia and Kalie, if you look at Koto Stefanos and
is that it? Okay.
Those are Pelagianica, Durianica names. Those are the locations is Durianica or Pelagianica with these two.
Which was called Gominyanica back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Theodora,
I mean, this is an amazing document because it's so good because it shows even well beyond what we have how the names were already established on Kythera.
Well, the only reason I know is because it's with Irinia Andronicus is right in the middle there between Dokana and Logothetianica. One of those villages between them, because that's what Dad's trying to get to his connection to Klensos. So
right. Well, it's interesting. They've got France, Austria.
So tell me, how did you come to get? Or how was this compiled? Do you know?
I have no idea. George Poulos did some digital work of all the family photographs that my Aunt Vassie gave him. I mean, thousands of them.
Was she your aunt? I'd so miss her. She used to come to visit me at Kythera House when I was there.
Oh, right. Well, that's my dad's sister. And she gave him all the photographs or donated them somewhere. I don't know whether it's to the association or what, but I've got the digital photos now, and I was going through it and I saw this, and it's just one of those out of place photographs. And I have no idea how she came across it or anything, but when you go back to all these mistresses.
Well, there must have been some conversation to create this, because on the lower left, you see 3 women named as mistresses.
That is amazing. That's what I'm commenting on.
Yeah.
How do you document the fact that there are mistresses? Why would you document that?
That's right.
Okay,
don't have the wives.
This would indicate to me. This would indicate to me it was held over in Venice.
I would say there were nobility, because if you look at the early censuses, they actually say, you know, Mr. Carluzzi and his consort, not his wife, and then she'd be the mother of those children.
Yeah, that's likely. Yeah.
I'm just looking through the surnames book at the history of the name Comino, and it is said that the Comino became officially involved in the public life of Byzantium under Emperor Basil II, and their founder was believed to be Emmanuel Komnenos, who owned land at Katsumona in the Pontus. The family ascended to the Byzantine throne and founded the dynasty of Komni. Somewhere it says here Emmanuel Komnenos, and that's the top of this branch you got here, Manoli Komnenos.
Wow, so it could be. I was about to say that, because Kythera.
Sorry, Kalie. It says here the members of this branch called themselves the Megali Komini or Megalokomen.
That's where we stem from, Amalia.
Yes.
I know someone.
Is there any doubt?
By the name of Terry. I know someone by the name of Terry Muslimas, who's related to the Komnenoses. He tells me that the Kaminos name and the Komneni name are 2 different families.
Well, Nina and Manuel are here, so they can tell you. They're Kalamos Konomoses, so.
Yeah, but they don't count. we're talking.
Let's hang on a minute.
Just wait a second there, Joe.
I bumped into Nina and Manuel last September. Hi, Nina. Hi,
Amalia,
Manuel.
we're going to Venice this year, so maybe we should go and check some things out while we're there.
Tell them that we'll be making you spend the whole time now in the archives.
When are you going to Venice?
We'll be there from the 3rd of July to about the 9th of July.
I'd like to see Venice, not just
I think you might have a tag along.
Yeah, why not make a group booking? Sounds like a plan.
Do you want me to cancel
that? The Comino have been in Kythera since the 16th century. So it doesn't say anything about 1000. So this may not be on Kythera itself. This might be.
This may have come from Constantinople.
Yeah, that's what because you look at that. That's the period before the fall of
Constantinople.
So it's in
according to
1483 was the final fall, I think, when the Ottoman Empire came to the fore.
And if they were a nobility family, their family would have been traced, their tree would have been known.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, they've got Salzburg there. They've got Manuel I Bertha of Sulzbach, which is Salzburg.
Oh, they have 2.
Yes.
And it's a very illustrious family tree. I'm hoping it actually relates to my family. Otherwise, it's
unless somebody tells you otherwise, Theodora, just claim it. No one can disprove it, so just claim it.
Theodora, you're on my ancestry.com. Like
I am.
related.
So I know. I think that's priceless. I love you.
I've been trying to figure out how. So I'll have to have a look at comparing your family tree on our records to ours to have a look.
It comes up with both you and Amalia.
Yes, so must be through a Megalokonomos.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the picture of the factory?
Yeah, I was going to say that, Robert. Let's go back to that. I'll put it back on. Hang on 1 second.
And can you put it in landscape?
Oh, am I there already?
I'm sorry, but we're going to have to go because we have to check out of our hotel.
Where are you?
We're in Melbourne.
Okay, number one, hold on. That's my father, Nicholas, and he was born in 1917 in Smithton, Pennsylvania. I'm trying to find a picture of my grandfather, but one of my kids has that. But I would
Smith,
like to
hold
see
on,
the
hold
picture.
on, hold on.
Yeah.
Smithton?
SMITHTHTON.
My
Oh,
mom
I've
was
got that.
born there.
Who's that lady? Oh no, hang on. Is that my photos? Sorry, I'm getting
Sorry,
excited.
I'm sharing my screen.
My mom was born in Smithton, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Athena, you can go ahead if you want to reshare that photo for him.
I don't know. How would I do that?
Okay.
Bye bye,
Thanks,
Kalie and
Madam.
Martina. See you in Sydney.
Bye, guys.
That's really
Bye. Good to see you.
But
That's
what was
really
your mother's
wild because
name?
my mom is from Smithton, and they had a Jones brewery there. My uncle actually dated Shirley Jones, and then they moved to the next town, Jacobs Creek, Pennsylvania. So your father, this is like wild. So your father was born in Smithton, Pennsylvania, which is like no one would know where that is in Western Pennsylvania.
Well, we all know it's near West Newton.
Yes, and my grandparents are buried in West Newton Cemetery.
What is your name? Which one are you? I don't see you
father
on
was,
here.
was Greek, Koroneos, Coroneos. My mom is Ukrainian and Carpatho-Russian, and her last name was Simkovich, or is Simkovich, Simkovich. And all of her family is buried in West Newton Cemetery. She bought me a plot. So
Can you give me your email address, please?
Sure. Hands, Hands, the number 2, Heart, HEART, at Optimum.
Hold on.
You can send it in the chat.
Type it in the chat.
I'm sorry. Would you just say it again, please?
She's putting it in the chat, Robert. Can you read the chat on your Zoom?
Is it optimum.com?
There it is in the chat.
Is it, Athena, is it optimum.com?
It's optimum.net or optonline.net. Both of them will get to me.
Where the heck is Colin?
Could you give me the first part of it again? Your name, I guess.
My name or the email?
Hello?
Sorry?
The email address.
Hands, Hands,
Got it.
HANDS,
Okay.
the number 2,
Okay.
Heart, HEART, at Optimum, OPTIMUM.net. It could be Opt Online or Optimum on, but yeah,
Great.
It's there. But that's wild because my mom was born in Smithton.
Isn't that amazing?
Pardon me?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's really amazing. And she met my father at a cotillion when he was recovering from injury in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
My relatives, my grandfathers and my brothers, his brothers had a bar and a restaurant right at the bridge in West Newton for years and years and years. So the whole family was down from West Newton.
That's really wild.
Is there any
really
connection? Is there any connection between Samios and Coroneos?
No, that's different parts of the Samios is mainly, well, Coronelos is really high north and Samios is lower down, so probably not.
Do you know if there's any links when you're in the States with your names?
Yes. For Coronelos, there are more people that I found out like in California.
Between Samios and Coroneos in America.
In the States?
Are there
Not
any?
to my knowledge.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge, but who knows?
Michael, the Northerners thought less of you. Of the Samios, so,
Cross that line at Dokana, and that's it.
Just to let you all know, I'm 82 years old, and this is my first trip to Greece. And my son and I are leaving on the 20th of April, and we're going to end up in Kythera for a few days up there. So,
where are you staying, Robert? Because I'd love to have you at the house because we can show you the library.
Angio, Pelagio, or Pia, it's on the right side of the
Palagia. Perfect. It's the location of the museum as well. So,
terrific.
Are you taking a hydrofoil?
Vicky, send him my email so I can, because I'd love to show him around. So,
that would be terrific.
Robert, I'd like you to tell everybody how you discovered you were Kytherian and Greek even.
Well, I always, this was a very mixed up story because my grandfather, and I was a kid when he was still alive, he always told me he was from Piraeus. And so I figured, okay, then all of a sudden I found my father's birth certificate and he has on there where my grandfather was born, and it wasn't Piraeus, it was Kythera. So that's how I found out that my family tree goes back there. And then there was a book published in West Newton, or in Westmoreland County, which encompassed both Smith and West Newton. It was a history of West Newton, and they had a whole history of another brother called Angelo Samios. He was the rich one who came over, because I remember he used to give out gold coins, and he went back to Greece. And I was too young to even think about this stuff at that time. So that's how I found out that this is where part of my heritage is.
Yeah, and then you started talking to my husband Michael on Facebook, didn't you?
Yes. Oh,
yes.
Oh, yes. Well, I was looking out for somebody named Samios, and this guy from Australia contacts me, and it's turned out to be a great communication. Mike has done a really good job directing me in the right place, so it's been really good. And his wife, of course,
you'll be taking over my genealogy stuff before you know it, Michael.
Yeah, he wants a lot of credit for driving Amalia down, by the way.
He does. He keeps telling everybody that, I know.
As a driver. Yes, you have to make sure you mention that.
So, Robert, we can't find your family on Kythera, can we? Because they weren't born on Kythera, and I don't know which. It's Ioane we were looking for, wasn't it?
But some of you go back in history, there was one that was born in Smyrna that came back to Kythera, and then back in 1833, this John Samios, it says that he was a farmer and a chef, and he lived there his whole life. So I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, I'll be able to find something about him.
Well, hang on, just give me 1 second.
Yep.
So if I search Ioane Samios, I've got about 80 on my file.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there's the problem. Unless he marries on Kythera, you know the wife's name or you know the exact year of birth, I wouldn't be able to tell you which Ioannis it is.
Well, I thought I sent that to you at one time.
Yeah, you did, and we couldn't find anything, could we?
Oh, no, not at that time, no.
No. So if you can find out Ioanni's wife or where he died or birth or something, we can.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Well, at least I'll go to the island and have a good time.
So you'll have a great time. Make sure you go to all the restaurants.
Amalia.